Bro, I'm the same way. I sleep probably 8 or 9 hours a night.
Yep.
And a lot of people, especially people in the, the fitness space or the influencer, whatever that title is, they always pride themselves on like, I'm up at 4:30, like everyone knows Jocko gets up at 4:30.
Yep.
Do you follow Wes Watson?
Yeah.
He's up at 2:30
Fuck that.
every day, and like, don't get me wrong. Like those dudes inspire me and I think they're doing good shit, but to find success doesn't mean you have to match what another man is doing necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you can see the formula that's working for them and pull different things or whatever. But for me, bro, if I don't feel rested, nothing else comes together for me.
Same.
And it's funny because I heard Andy Frisella talk about it. He's like, I fucking sleep in and get up when I want to. And he goes, and then when I get up, guess what I do? I go to work and get shit done. And so, yeah, I'm more on that camp.
Same. I've tried to force myself to be a morning person for years. Like, military, right? You wake up at 4:35 for however many years in a row. Hated every single second of it. Couldn't stand it. Like if I sleep in until 7, I'm golden. Like that's 6:37. That's perfect. If I try to force myself to get up at 5 and work out before work, it's a terrible workout. I feel awful. It never gets better.
The same, man. And also like my primary source of fitness these days is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight somebody before noon. No. Like Lappin has a 5 a.m. class and I'm like, bro, I don't even want to drill at 5 a.m., let alone slap and bump and fight to the fucking death.
Yeah. Now that I have 2 kids, like in the last couple of weeks, our second one came, and now I'm trying to figure out my schedule for getting back into jiu-jitsu because I haven't been able to roll in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm starting to lose my mind.
I bet, bro.
So I'm trying to figure out like, man, if there was an early morning class, that could work. But at the same time, I feel like whenever we wake up early, our kids wake up early too.
Yeah.
So it's a wash.
Have you ever, so you haven't joined the morning crew at all yet then? Huh?
No, I've been to a couple of Saturdays. That was months ago.
Got it.
Yeah. It doesn't work really well with my job. Like I'm generally working from 6:30 or 7 to noon is all of my customer stuff and my company stuff.
Yeah.
And then afternoons are super flexible. I do whatever I need to do for work in the afternoon.
So before we get into the premise of this episode, which is another Jiu Jitsu Chronicles, dude, I'm always an open book with the fucking listeners. And I want to preface this with just what happened this morning because I actually canceled on you. And then I called you back. I said, bro, I can't cancel. We got to do this. And it's because I was up all night and me and Jenny got in a gnarly fight. And it's funny because I'm laying in bed thinking about, again, as someone that likes to pride myself on talking about becoming a stronger version of yourself, like making good choices in life and doing the right thing, all the things we always talk about, it doesn't mean you're immune to life throwing curveballs at you and getting really pissed off, having gnarly fights with the old lady, all the same shit. And I even told Jenny that. I'm like, dude, I can't go fucking record today. What am I going to fucking talk about? I'm going to fucking talk about how fucking pissed I am at you and how we were up all night fighting, I was like, that's everybody's real life. They don't want to hear people talk about that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell the listeners because I always say like, I never want to be looked at as a guru or a life coach. Like, because the truth is I'm on the journey with the people that consume this podcast. And I have I have some answers, but I don't have all the answers. And as soon as you just said, I haven't rolled in 2 weeks, my brain just clicked. Because I think maybe that is kind of the catalyst of why her and I got into it so bad. Because, dude, I'm not right now. I haven't trained. Wednesday will be 2 weeks since I've trained.
Yeah.
And not just rolled, but really got any type of rigorous workout.
Same, dude. I think Tuesday or Wednesday for me too. It's 2 weeks.
I got those 10-pound dumbbells that I'm doing curls with. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can build lactic acid up in your arms. I get it. But it's not fucking smashing yourself.
Yeah.
And when smashing yourself is part of your routine and then that's not present anymore, man, my fucking wheels fall off.
Yeah.
I just feel out of alignment. I feel kind of fucking, dude, I feel more angry. Like all the stuff that a lot of times I start to think like, oh, dude, that's old Greg. I've grown past that, And like last night, Jenny was even referencing like, she's like, you read all these emotional intelligence books and blah, like, and then you're acting like this, you know? I was like, dude,
oh yeah.
And that's like,
that's the right thing to say.
Like I was just telling, Zane, one of my brown belts that popped in before we pushed record. I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I will literally disappear and I will fucking buy a small fucking hut on some fucking coast of Thailand and no one will ever fucking see me again. And I'll fucking sign the Jiu Jitsu Academy over to Will and you guys can split the profit and you can tell the kids whatever the fuck you want to tell them and I'm done with you. And it sounds silly, but bro, my brain, it goes there sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? Especially guys like, I mean, we're going to get into your story soon, but like you live the military life and deployments and like doing things that are kind of outside of the norm. And sometimes I don't think my wife knows where I came from, right. Even though she was with me through half of those deployments.
Yeah. You act in a certain way and you have been acting in a certain way for the last 15, 20 years, but deep down in there somewhere, like,
the wild animal still wants to get out, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And fucking like,
that's why this is so important. Like this place, like it's an outlet for that.
For sure, man.
In a safe, productive way.
No, man.
And most guys don't have that at all.
So we could talk about me and Jenny fighting all day. I was actually thinking like, do I need to do a solo episode on all my emotions that I felt last night? Cause I know, bro, everybody goes through this. Yeah. I had a coworker that's like, me and my wife haven't gotten one fight in 20 years of marriage. I'm like, must be a pretty boring marriage then. Either like your woman must just bend a knee to anything that you say. And like on one hand, it's like, oh, cool. Look, I have a woman that's like a slave. Yeah. Okay.
Or you do as a guy. That's never good either.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, if she doesn't push back on things that should probably get a little pushback, bro, you don't want her to be your woman.
Yeah.
You know, like a strong man needs people in his life that will check him. And again, here. You know what I mean? Like accountability. Yep. And so there won't be a solo episode because I already feel better. We just drank some magic tea, which we can get into later. And I just plan on trying to decompress and have fun while I learn about your journey. And so this is going to be Jiu Jitsu Chronicles Part 2. And I don't know what the title of it is going to be yet, but maybe
see what comes up.
The journey into white belt or something, because you're new into Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
And one of the most fascinating things you told me in regards to starting jiu-jitsu, something that's kind of captivated you and motivated you, is you're like, man, I come from a background where, and you said like, not to sound egotistical, but I'm naturally good at things. I'm good at fitness. I did good in school. I did good in the Marine Corps. So when I started jiu-jitsu, I thought, hey, this is another thing that I will start and I will be good at. And then you said, fuck, that wasn't quite the outcome that I anticipated.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you listen to the show, but let's just talk about like where you came from and who you are, what you did. And then we'll delve into that jiu-jitsu journey, man.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. So I come from Wisconsin originally. I'm a Midwest guy. I grew up with 4 brothers. I got into the Marine Corps after high school, went into an officer training program, kind of had to make the choice between like, do I go enlisted and not miss the war? Or do I do the officer training thing for 4 years, probably miss the war, because this would have been 2008 when I signed up.
Yep.
So it was already starting to peter off a little bit. Ultimately, I decided to get college paid for up front, do the officer route.
So they have an option for you to go to college first?
Yes. So
and have it paid for?
Yep.
Okay.
So I applied for an ROTC scholarship.
I see.
So I joined the delayed entry program my like end of sophomore year in high school. Like I just knew I was going to join the Marines. My older brother had joined the Marines. And I just, it was going to happen. It was just a matter of which path am I going to take? And I took the ASVAB, and my recruiter, who knew my parents really well because of my older brother.
You maxed it.
I maxed it. And he was like, dude, your mom's going to kill me if you don't walk across the street and talk to the OSO, the selection officer.
Got it.
So I did that. I applied for the scholarship, had enough extracurriculars, and I did well enough in school that I ended up getting the scholarship. And then I had to decide, do I go to boot camp now, or do I start this officer training pipeline for the next 4 years?
Okay.
So I chose to do that. Maybe a little bit of influence from my parents, like, hey, dummy, like do the intelligent choice. I don't regret it at all. I think I did for a while.
There's pros and cons to both, right?
Totally.
But from a career standpoint, obviously,
Yeah. In my mind, I was thinking I'm going to go enlisted and then I'm going to put in a package to be a Mustang, essentially a MESEP package to go from officer to enlisted.
And I always say, if you want to do a career, I do think there's a ton of value in that.
Yeah.
Because then you walked your men's shoes. And that's like, because my best PL was a Mustang. He was a E1 through E6 in the line, being a fucking private, all that stuff, saw gunner, then became a lieutenant. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. But the reality of the situation is there's a lot of different paths to becoming an officer. So who's to say what's necessarily the best? Because you're going to have to invest a lot more time in that too.
Yeah, 100%. And I've, some of the best officers I knew were either Mustangs or warrant officers. So guys that have been through the enlisted pipeline.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I struggled with that for a few years, like with that decision and regretting it. But I eventually came to a place where I don't regret it at all. It all worked out great.
Well, and regrets don't fucking do anything for you.
Exactly. It's the unchangeable past. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. What's that process actually look like? Do you go to like blocks of military training each summer? And then school is the regular school year?
Yep. So you're assigned to an ROTC unit. So in the case of the Marine Corps, you're attached to the Navy NROTC unit, which is Reserve Officer Training Corps. So you're up at 4:30 every day, either PTing or drilling during the weekdays. You go to a full day of classes. To be eligible for the scholarship, you have to have a full course load. And then afterwards in the afternoons, you typically have some sort of training. Like the Marines, we would do all of our land nav courses, 5-paragraph order stuff, extra workouts maybe.
So you're fucking busy then.
Busy all day, every day. Yeah. It wasn't a normal college experience. It's not as bad as the academies, for sure. Like,
because you have your freedom, right? You can leave at night and shit.
Yeah, I can drink every night if I want to. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I did. So you're busy all day, every day. And then in the summers, you have a month, 2 months of whatever. Like for the first summer, it was kind of a taste of all the different elements of the Navy and Marine Corps. And then in the second summer, I went to mountain warfare training in the Sierra Nevadas, which was cool. And then the third summer, you go to officer candidate school, which is boot camp for officers. So that's before your senior year, you have to finish that. And if you fail out of that, you have to pay back your entire scholarship and you're kicked out.
So that's a lot of incentive to do well.
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like enlisted boot camp where you show up and if you put your head down and do what you're told, you're going to make it through.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fat body, you're not going to be fat when you finish. You're going to get through it. You're going to be fine. Just shut up and do what you're told. Officer school, if you fuck up, if you have an integrity violation, if you don't pass any one of the, it was physical, academic testing or military skills. If you fail any one of those, you're kicked out because there's only so many officers in the Corps, right?
Yeah.
So
this was then what, 2011 when you were going through that?
Yep.
Okay. And that's what is that like a 10-week thing or?
That was it 10 weeks? It's not the full 13. If you do the OCC program, I forget, they've changed the name a couple of times, but there's a program now where you don't get a scholarship. If you have a college degree or if you're going through college and you're paying for it yourself, you can apply and then you go to this kind of longer, almost like a 13-week normal, I won't say normal, but it's a longer one because you haven't been doing all of the daily shit.
Got it.
As you would in like ROTC.
And then it's also, once you're in officer candidate school, you're back to lockdown course, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know, I was a warrant officer when I got out.
Yeah. Yeah. You were going the aviation side, right?
So I didn't get the full OCS, but I got a little piece of it, where like, I'm sure the Marine Corps is even worse where you're sitting and you're eating your meals and everybody has to pick up their trays in unison and all that bullshit.
Yeah, that was definitely OCS, but that doesn't last too long. Right? Yeah. It's just like boot camp. It's over in the blink of an eye. And then after you go finish your final year, you get your degree, which makes you eligible to be commissioned an officer.
So then you graduate, you're eligible. Is it literally like, boom, you're commissioned?
Yes.
And then do you go to, like in the Army, they call it your fucking
A school or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a step in between for the Marine Corps, regardless of what your MOS, your military occupational specialty is. You have to go to what's called the basic school.
Okay.
And that's 6 months of essentially training up every new officer to be a platoon commander, like an infantry platoon commander, with the theory or the idea that every Marine's a rifleman.
Yeah.
So which
is a good theory.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But it's not quite as factual as they want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. That was dope though. That was 6 months of, you're doing all the mill skill stuff. You spend a couple weeks in the field, do a couple weeks of coursework. You're doing all your McMap stuff.
Well, let me say this about that, because like I was deployed a lot of times in Anbar province, which was controlled by the Marine Corps. So I lived with the Marine Corps. Base security was all Marines. Like our QRFs were Marines. Like every element of who we worked with in Ramadi was the Marine Corps. And when I heard we were going to live on a Marine base, I was like, oh fuck, man, like this shit's going to be worse than a fucking Army base. And dude, and I don't know why I kind of had that misconception. I'm here to tell you the Marine Corps as an overall organization is 100 times more squared away than the Army. And not just like, like the little things, like grooming standards, fitness standards, attention to detail. And that probably derives from exactly that, hey, we're war fighters. Yeah. And like, sure, you're in the Marine Corps band and your MOS is playing a tuba. And the reason I say that is because there was a girl in the guard tower, and that was who she was.
I've heard those people don't even go to boot camp.
I don't know. Well, she was sitting in a fucking guard tower with a 50 cal that my buddy got behind and got after it.
That's terrifying.
but still, like every single last Marine, you could tell held themselves to a higher standard than what I saw in the Army. And then I remember thinking like, oh fuck, dude, maybe I should have joined the Marine Corps. But what I have what I've landed on is, I think if you want to be something that is very branch specific, if you want to be a SEAL, okay, we know where you have to go. If you want to be part of special operations, or I also think if you want to be aviation, probably go Army, because the Marine Corps flying those old 46s and Cobras that look like they're about to fall out of the fucking sky.
That was part of my job.
Okay.
So we can talk about that if you want, but it's probably going to piss me off and I'll turn into you this morning.
But if you don't know what you want to do and you just want to go serve and you're content, a young person that's kind of like, hey, needs of the military, I honestly think the Marine Corps as an organization is a better place to find yourself in.
Yeah, I can't speak to it now in, end of 2023. I got out in 2018.
Okay.
It was already kind of becoming a different Marine Corps than I had joined. Everybody says that shit, but now just in the last 5 years or so, it seems like, and that goes for all branches.
Everybody says that shit, and like, but the rate in which shit is declining is fucking speeding up exponentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So I have a hard time, like if a young person comes to me and asks for advice on joining the Marine Corps or whatever, like, I don't know if in good conscience I can tell them I would recommend it right now, but that's probably because of my, not even political views, but just like personal life views. Yeah. I guess,
I mean, fuck bro, you just gave me a bracelet that has a handcuff key attached to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Our wheels are spinning in a manner that a lot of people's aren't, but it's not because we're fucking crazy. It's because, and I don't know, did you end up deploying?
I don't consider it a deployment. I guess the Marine Corps did. I did 2 deployments, quote unquote, to Australia in the Northern Territory. So they were training deployments.
Got it.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, like you have the life experience that we have. You see the military standards degrading. You see our cultural standards degrading, and you have to arrive at a point that, man, something's going to give, dude. And I tell young people the same thing, like Oliver, our savage white belt who's 16.
Yeah, dude, he beats the brakes off me. It pisses me off.
He pulled me aside the other day and was like, hey, what do you think about this? And talking about different military service. Mm-hmm. And I told him exactly what I would tell anybody. And it's like, obviously I'm 43 now, and I look back on my career, and it's like, when I went in, I didn't weigh all of the political landscape and who was president. I didn't give a fuck. Like, I'm a young man. I want to get after it and do some cool shit. And that's where he's at, Yeah. But I told him, I said, the silver linings in all this is that if our government does turn on the people, at least they're going to have good people that they trained that can use the training against them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we still need our young savages learning how to fight and being part of special operations units and stuff. But if they want to use them against us one day, they're going to have a fucking decision to make.
Yep.
And
I don't think they're going to like the what direction most of their soldiers, Marines, sailors go. Like the government's not going to like it.
You think that there would be a lot of resistance to that?
I think it's all personal opinion, obviously, but if it would have to be like a singular kind of event, right? If we keep doing this death by 1,000 cuts thing we're doing, where rights continue to be stripped away from us slowly.
Yeah.
Like if you react to that, you're an extremist, you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of singular event where everyone in the military had to decide, like, all right, line in the sand, who are you supporting? Is it the government that's trying to force citizens to do X, Y, Z, or now is it time to fracture?
Yeah.
Know? And that's all totally hypothetical. We can get into this as well, but it's living in a future that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is a waste of time, in my opinion.
Well, what I always say on the podcast is informed but not consumed.
Yeah.
Like we can't give it your whole life energy and just fucking let it fucking dictate your every last movement. But the equal and opposite side of that is if you don't war game it in your mind and have some basic fucking necessities and some plans with some certain groups of people, and it does happen, you're ensuring you're fucked.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
One thing that I think about with this, and you pretty much articulated exactly what I think about, is the slow roll of military being able to have a presence and then have it kind of advance to an enforcement role. And it could literally start with, guys, it's martial law and we're not even issuing ammunition. This is just, we just need to do presence patrols. And we just need to, you know what I mean? They could sell it as like, dude, we're not hurting anyone. We're not enforcing any rules. We're literally just doing presence patrols because that's a tactic that they use. You know, I've done plenty of presence patrols. And then they could something could be like, you know what? Based on this intel that we got, we are going to start issuing live ammo because of X, Y, and Z. There's these threats from these extremist groups, and it's important that we have the ability to defend ourselves.
Safety and security.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then it just keeps progressing. Now, before you know it, you're doing direct action raids on HVTs that are named Greg Anderson in Lake Stevens, Washington.
Yeah. Local warlord.
Yeah. That's the plan if everything goes as we hope it goes.
I don't know, man. I like to read all of the post-apocalyptic books and war game things out, but usually I think it's almost a form of porn for guys like us. Like, it's fun to think out that shit, do your fucking area plan and to figure out like your neighborhood and what you would do if XYZ went down. It's good to have those plans, but just like you said, it's good to not be consumed by it. Because we have a life to live now, and if we're not present now for us, for our families, for our communities, then what's it all for anyway?
Yeah, it's all for naught, man.
Yeah.
I told Jenny, I said, dude, this year feels weird for me. Something feels off, right? And maybe the feeling is nothing, but I've always been a person that says, trust your intuition, trust your instincts. Mm-hmm. I've talked about like, before you get ambushed, you know you're going to get ambushed. Yep. And I don't know what that is. But it's the truth. And anyone that's been through those experiences enough time will tell you the same thing. And it's like, fuck, dude, it's the political landscape. It's the division. We're kind of in unprecedented times, like politically. And it seems like it's an election cycle. If something was going to pop off, this would be the year. So I told Jenny, I said, if we get through 2024 with nothing, I give you my word. We'll fucking shake on it. I will not bring up preparedness ever again. That doesn't mean I won't still have some things that some plans or some fucking contingency plans. But yeah, dude, just something feels off, dude. I don't know what it is. And everybody's saying this too. You know?
I think it's our responsibility as citizens to be prepared, right? You can go all the way back to the idea of the Minutemen, right? And the local militias and all that. But if we're not ready for when things like our super fragile power grid goes down. I mean, hell, dude, what was it, about a year ago? Power went out up here for like 2 or 3 days. That one weekend.
People were fucking
panicking. That was a fucking stress test. And I failed it. Like we had a relatively young baby, just one at the time. There was a bunch of breast milk in the freezer and I was freaking out about, we have months and months of breast milk stored. How am I going to make sure it stays cold? And that was a wake-up call for me, just in terms of Not even like if the world goes to shit, if society collapses, if there's mobs of roving gangs. Like, no. What if the grid just goes down for a few days?
Yeah.
Are you fucked or are you not? Like, did you prepare for it? And it's just like in jiu-jitsu. I'm sure we're going to tie it back to jiu-jitsu.
Always, dude.
You're going to find yourself in these positions, in these situations where if you've prepared for it, if you've been in that situation before, if you've thought about how to get out of it, maybe you've tried a few things and failed, like you're going to be way more ready for that.
Yeah,
than
for sure.
if it's your first time and you've only ever like, oh, I know that's a thing. I know that's a theoretical thing, but it's only exists in theory in my brain. Once you've put your hands on it, you're better prepared. You're better equipped to deal with it.
I feel like if the grid were to go down, and this is either some type of cyber attack or just the capacity of the grid is already being fucking stressed. From what I understand, I couldn't fucking talk to you about that on any type of technical level. But from what I understand, our grid has some vulnerabilities and there's the potential for a collapse, right? If that were to happen, what I've thought about is like, at what point do people say, okay, it's a fucking free for all? Because if the power goes out for 4 hours, we're not going to be raiding the grocery store with AR-15s, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you do, and then the power comes back on, and now you're on the FBI's most wanted list, right? So there has to be a point where, okay, power's been out for fucking 24 hours now. Cell phones aren't working. Sooner or later, the tipping point's going to get reached. And I honestly think if it goes past that tipping point, there's no coming back.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot faster than people think it is.
What would you think it would be inside of 24 hours?
No, not 20. Well,
I think it's like 72 hours.
At least. I'm thinking more like a week.
Okay.
But I'm also thinking of the situation that's laid out in this. There's a documentary called Grid Down, Power Up, I think. And it lays out this scenario that the Pentagon, that the government essentially war gamed out. Like, what would it take to bring down the power grid? And they did this 20 plus years ago. Like, they've been talking about it for 20 years. And the conclusion was essentially like, if you detonate a nuke a certain elevation over the central United States, I think it's like a couple miles up, what happens is the EMP bounces off the atmosphere of the Earth and creates this sort of magnifying umbrella effect where it just pushes the EMP wave across the country. It just takes one nuke of a certain size and the entire country is down. Like, you can't bring the grid back.
And that kills
everything goes down.
Motor vehicles and everything.
Everything. Right? Cell phones, vehicles, unless you've hardened them, like everything goes down.
Unless your garage is like a big Faraday bag.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you can. I think there's shielding you can put inside the engine compartment of your vehicle. I still need to look into that.
Bro, if you had a car,
the only car, yeah. Or if it's an older vehicle, like very old, before chips are involved in starting the vehicle up.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Do you know how that electromagnetic field, how that actually shuts everything down?
I don't. No,
okay.
I'm not. You could probably.
I know
Tobin might know. I feel like,
okay.
You know, I think I first heard about the doc from him actually. So
okay.
Grid Down, Power Up it's a very interesting, at least to war game something out in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this goes down, to get back to, you know, why I think that, why it would happen a lot faster than people think it would. The lack of communication is what's going to kill people.
Yes.
Like, if there's no assurances from the government, there's no way to get word from anyone about, oh, this is just the grid's down, we're working on getting it back up. If there's radio silence and there's no way to get word for more than a few days, people are freaking out. People are raiding the stores. There's only 3 days worth of food
that's
in every
exactly
city. Like,
and I just talked to one of my buddies who's pretty high ranking in the local sheriff's office about this. We had coffee the other day, and he goes, there's no contingency plan for this.
Yeah.
Like, if this happens, calls for service come to a stop. And that's the thing. It is also going to depend where you're geographically located. Because if you're in some farmer city in Ohio, people are probably going to be like, hey, dude, let's help each other out. You got enough food, all that stuff. All the inner cities are going to eat each other. Yeah. It's going to be cannibalism.
And I'm going to sound like a crazy prepper here because I've read all these books, but I think I gifted you a few of them.
Yeah, Wrath of the Wendigo.
Yeah, so that's a fiction one, but it's worth the read. And then there's two others by the same author, Clay Martin, who's he was a Green Beret. He lives in Idaho. You'd love him. He's a good dude. He's into jiu-jitsu. He has a training group. probably somewhat similar to Tobin, but he does a lot of the preparedness stuff. And his books are about, the first one is what happens, or like how to survive in an urban setting when that shit goes down. That one's called Concrete Jungle. The latter book is called Prairie Fire.
Is he the one that writes like 1 minute, 1 month, like 1 year or something? There's some author that talks about.
That's a different person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all fiction novels, but they're based on that hypothetical that I just talked about with the
Same.
nuke going off
Got
and
it.
killing the grid. Yeah. Anyway, I probably sound like a crazy prepper, but I promise, dude, I'm a normal person. I go to
the
jiu-jitsu.
Listeners of this podcast are fucking the craziest people ever. So
that's true. Yeah.
You're in good company here. The weird thing about it is we have become so conditioned to being able to, what's Danny doing? I pick my phone up and text you, and instantly we're connected, and you can share your whatever, your location, what you're doing, link up time. Like, not that long ago when I was a fucking child, I mean, I'm not that old yet, bro. When you leave the house, there is no way to get a hold of you, and I will see you when I get back. And mail was fucking all snail mail. And like, we have the capability and the technology to be able to live a life without technology, but because we become so dependent on it, taking a step backwards will cause chaos.
100%. Yeah. I just think about how much you depend on your apps, or you're like your map app on your phone. Bro, dude, I used to be able to cruise around town without it, and now, fuck, dude. I
went to my buddy's house in Michigan, Leroy, Michigan. He was deployed to Ramadi with me, and we were both stateside. And he's like, dude, come over and spend a couple weeks of summer with me. Okay. I bought an Atlas and hopped in my Mustang and just literally like, okay, I'm going to be on this road for 296 miles. Hit your odometer, and you better watch that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you drive right past it, and what it forces you to do is be more present in what you're involved in, instead of just completely vegging out on the Endless Endeavor podcast.
Totally, yeah.
Dude,
I don't know about you, but that's I really enjoyed land navigation.
Bro, land navigation.
It itches a part of our brain as humans that, like, all the geospatial stuff, like, we're born to be good at that.
Yes.
We're born to know where we are, know where we need to go. But technology just, it makes that muscle, that part of our brain just shrivel up. And when we don't use it, it's just gone.
No, it's interesting you say that, because I like Andy Stumpf's Average at Best when he talks about how he performed as a SEAL. And that's about how I would rate myself in the Ranger Regiment. But you're also comparing yourself to a bunch of studs, right? So it's like average in the Ranger Regiment, you're still doing pretty good. However, land nav was my shit, dude.
Yeah.
I loved land nav.
Did you terrain association?
Yeah, dude, all that stuff. Dude. Or dude, like, I would blow people's minds, usually not Rangers, because Rangers all do this stuff. But when I would go to like PLDC or the Warrant Officer course, just do like Dead Reckoning, be like, all right, get my fucking Ranger, my beads out and fucking follow my pace count. And dude, I would fucking hit my mark religiously.
Yep.
And it's like, dude,
I didn't even do that shit, dude. I would do pure terrain association. So like, fuck the pace count. Like, I'd get my azimuth. And I would say, all right, I know that my box is on the back end of a finger that's about 1,200 meters in that direction.
Yeah.
And I just take off running.
Dude, I would do the same thing, man.
Other guys would just be
or if I was
little steps.
If I was following azimuth, I would just be like, I'd hold it up and be like, what is very far away? That big fucking oak tree that's 900 meters away or whatever. And now I don't have to think about land nav. I just go for a jog.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I went through PLDC, I did that because in PLDC, that was the course you have to go through to get your E5 when I was in. Okay. It's not called that anymore. But part of it was a land nav course. But the exercise in that course was fucking weak, dude. So I was like, this will be a good opportunity to smoke the shit out of myself. I'm going to run this course as fast as I can. And I came in like 45 minutes. And we had like 6 hours to do it. Something crazy. And the cadre looked at my card and they're like, well, guess what? Because you decided to do it as fast as you could, you got every fucking point wrong. Luckily, you still got 5 hours left. Threw the card at me and goes, get back out there and fix it. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? So I sprint back to my first point, confirm that I was right. And I was like, dude, there's no way I'm wrong. Run back to the fucking, the Cadre's booth. And as soon as I was walking up, I saw the guy kind of like, and he goes, I had the answer key for the Bravo course. You're alpha. And he checked and he goes, my bad, dude.
You thought they were fucking with you.
He's like, you're good to go.
That's awesome.
Or another funny land nav story, and then we can make the podcast back about you again, being a guest. When I went through the warrant officer course, they said, if we call your name, you are a land nav no-go. You have failed. Form a formation behind the platoon. Everyone else can break for chow. You guys have to go back out tonight for retraining. And my name was called. And I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no way I'm a land nav failure. What the fuck is this? So we formed that platoon, and then the cadre goes, Anderson, fall out, come up front. And I went up there, and they're like, hey, man, do you want to, based on your times and your scores, do you want to lead the retraining? I was like,
you volunteered yourself because you were so good.
Yes, sir. So I thought that was funny, man. But
it is really, though, it's something inside of us that, like, jiu-jitsu, land navigation, all these things that we're kind of meant to be doing as humans, like before technology got involved.
Yeah.
It feels correct, you know, when you're in the moment, or even if you're just like out on Tyler's property around a fire.
Yeah.
Like that is something, there's something inherently human. We may go off the rails in this conversation.
Go, bro. We
had some mushroom tea, but I don't know, that it's almost like the older I get, the more I'm trying to distance myself from the technology that I grew up with and grew to love in my 20s. And now it's like, I just want to get back to simple stuff, connecting with people one-on-one, being out in nature.
Yeah.
Drinking some magic tea with my homies every now and then, like being present for my family. I want to throw our fucking TV away. I hate our TV, but my daughter loves Lion King. So she gets it one time a day.
Yeah.
And I have to lie to her and gaslight her into thinking that the TV only works from 5 to 6 p.m. and then it turns off magically.
Bro, I'm fucking torn on all this shit too, man, because my kids are now 8, 12, and 14. They're good kids. Their bodies are in shape. Their brains seem to be working properly, but they do have iPads. My older two do have phones because they're gone all the time. I want to stay connected to them. Like, and everything's a double-edged sword. Like, because I understand that there's a lot of bad that comes with it, but it's also kind of the world that we occupy now. And I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah.
And I'll come home and I'll see all my kids laying on the living room floor watching fucking Mr. Beast on YouTube, who's actually pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever followed any of that guy's stuff.
He knows what he's doing.
Dude, I watched, it's funny.
Entertainer.
Literally yesterday, they were watching a Mr. Beast episode where he recreated Squid Games.
Yep.
And it was like,
I actually know something weird about that. Like the amount of money that he made from that video, recreating Squid Games, like the ad spend that he made or ad revenue he got from YouTube surpasses what Squid Games made Netflix.
Are you serious?
Like he made way more money than the actual TV show did because he's got the most, I think he's the most popular person.
I think he is.
On all social media platforms.
Oh, bro. And he even said, he goes, because he'll plug himself during his shows a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, if you're not following me and you go follow me, I'm going to pick a random new follower and mail you 10 grand. Like, what? That's a pretty fucking big incentive for growing your platform.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like about, because there's so much bullshit on the internet and on YouTube that my kids like to consume. And I'll literally say, turn these fucking faggots off. And I'll call them that. And my kids will be like, no, they're funny. I said, no, they're fucking 20-year-old men with arms the size of spaghetti noodles talking and fucking giggling like fucking schoolgirls. Like, you're not deriving any value from them. They're acting like fucking faggots. Turn it off. I said, put on the Nature's Channel or put on a documentary to learn something. But I don't look at Mr. Beast like that. I'm like, this guy is interesting because he's made a bunch of fucking money through his videos. Mm-hmm. And now he puts people through challenges. And bro, I always say like Alone's my favorite show on television, right? And it's not my favorite show because this is how you make a fucking fire with a bow drill. It's my favorite show because I love watching the psychology of going through hardship. It fascinates me. And like Mr. Beast did another one where he put 100 people in a cube and said the last person standing, it's 500 grand.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Let's see how this plays out. You know what I mean? And so like when my kids want to watch that, I can see what interests them. And I do think there's some value to be derived from it. But then the other side of it is they'd probably be better off going out in the fucking swamp and catching frogs.
Yeah.
You know? And so...
Yeah, but then when they're in their teenage years, it's like the social element kicks in really hard.
Yeah.
Like the only thing they would rather be doing other than playing on the iPad is either being with their friends or interacting with their friends on the iPad.
Yeah.
And then maybe not the iPad, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Insert video game or whatever here.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, what's interesting is my 14-year-old, because she's virtually grown up in technology, right? Yeah. And there's plenty of times when we're like out with the family or whatever, and I'll send her a text or I'll be like, hey, you got your phone? She's like, nah, it's at home.
That's incredible.
It happens all the time with her. Nah, it's at home. Because there's nothing interesting about this phone. This has fucking been part of life since she was a baby and like screaming in her car seat, I want to watch fucking Dora the Explorer on dad's phone. And like, I feel like the mystique is kind of, you know?
It's interesting.
And so, yeah, it's cool, but.
I feel like that would, like in my brain, that doesn't make sense. It's like, I would think the opposite. Like, I don't leave my phone at home.
But we're also, we didn't grow up with these things.
It's true.
You know? And then the other thing that I see extremely beneficial for her is jiu-jitsu, man.
Yeah.
You know, it roots her back into reality. And also, you've come in enough when I'm teaching kids class. Have you seen the group of girls, my daughter, Will's daughter, and their friend Maya?
Yep.
Dude, they're like, jiu-jitsu has given me everything. It's given me my best friends. It's given me my circle. It's given me my parents, their circle, like all this stuff. And they already see the value in it. Yeah. It's pretty fascinating, man.
They are confident girls too.
Yeah.
Like that's cool to see. Cause I don't know, when I see kids out in the world, like outside this gym, there's none of the eye contact. There's none of the, just the confidence, you know, that's usually goes along with being a kid. Like when you spend your entire infancy growing up into adolescence with a screen in your face, I think that does something to you psychologically.
Not only psychologically, but like, just physically knowing how to interact with a human being standing in front of you.
Yeah.
You know? And bro, I've been big on that. Like, we've been talking the whole fucking time we've been recording now. Like, I don't have all the answers. Me and my wife were up all night fighting. Like, yeah, I get it. The one piece of wisdom that I can impart on you as a new parent, make your fucking kids carry their own weight in society. Like, hey, can I have this fucking little toy? Yeah, but you're going to take it up to the cash register and you're going to fucking pay and you're going to say thank you to the lady. Mm-hmm. Or same thing at restaurants. Oh, I want this. Well, I don't fucking serve food. So why are you telling me what you want?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like, oh, you're being a jerk, you know? But
no, I like it.
That's what I'll tell them. I'll be like, if you want something to eat off of this menu, I'm not the person to tell. That girl over there is.
Yep.
And
I like that a lot. I'm definitely going to use that. And I'm honestly looking forward to that aspect of parenting, of like trying to make them people that the rest of the world actually wants to interact with. I know Jordan Peterson talks about that concept a lot.
Because, bro, it's not adults and kids. It's just human beings of different ages.
Totally. Yeah.
And you can start interacting with people at 3 and 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And it's like literally it'd be in their fucking car seats and be like, tell her she's the person that this is her job. And now it's understood, you know, and it's funny now because they know that I have no part in between them picking up the menu and them ordering. We're out to dinner the other day and my 12-year-old's like, I'll take the lobster tail and filet mignon, please.
Oh, shit.
Like,
backfired on you.
And she looks at me and I'm like, good to go. I like good fucking.
You know what? I walked into that and that's okay.
I'm down with that, dude.
That's awesome. My daughter's 1.5 years right now. So we're in that firmly into that stage where there's a lot of emotion. There's some tantrums and you can't reason with her yet, you know?
Zero
I guess
reason.
she's 20 months now, but
people often say terrible 2s. For me, it was terrible 3s.
Yeah.
So not trying to fucking.
I think every child's different too, you know?
But it was pretty consistent with all three of my girls because, man, 2 is still a baby. Like, don't get me wrong. They're mobile. They can get into things. But 3, they start to have opinions.
Yeah. And they can voice those opinions.
And they can voice those opinions. And they can take action related. Like, I remember one time, we were at the mall, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. I don't want to go. I'm like, okay. Like, this isn't a fucking democracy. Or, you know what I mean? I don't care if you want to go. It's, let's go. And she's like, I'm not going. And I reached down, and I grabbed her hand, and she goes, help. Help! Oh, screaming. And I was like, what the fuck? She's going to get me shot, dude.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, I went into like kind of a fucking panic, dude. Cause I was like, dude, what if I saw a guy grab a girl by her arm and she's 3 years old and she's screaming help? So now is someone going to interject? And now I get some type of altercation. Like all my wheels start spinning because this can go from a literally like, hey, it's time to go to me trying to kill somebody almost instantly, you know? And, but the thing is at 3, the brains work, but not to the point where you can articulate why that is so out of line.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I think one thing that I hope to do as a parent, like I mentioned, I grew up with 4 brothers. We were all in high school at the same time, like very close in age. So there's twins in there. So my mom, like by necessity, she was the general. Like what she said goes. And we were pretty well behaved children. Like my parents got a lot of compliments. Like at church, we were a very religious family. That's a whole nother story. But
are you not religious anymore?
No.
I want to jump into that when you're done with this story.
Totally, yeah. But she was forced to parent in a way, like in order to keep her sanity, she had to be very firm. And we had rules in our house, and you had to obey those rules. And there was no flexibility in those rules. So I became a little shit. Maybe not a little shit. I was a pretty good kid. I was a horrible teenager because I was smart enough to figure out how to get around the rules. Like my older brother, he was defiant. He was a rebel as well. I think he got caught a little more, whereas I could figure out how to lie and manipulate. And that really had an effect on me moving into like my 20s and having to get rid of and shuck off all of that shit that I had done in my teenage years and put my parents through so much grief because I was rebelling against these strict Catholic family rules.
Yeah, but bro, that's also kind of a natural path for a person that doesn't feel like this path that I'm being told to conform to, it doesn't feel right. Yeah. Or it doesn't feel like it's me, you know? And dude, that's one thing about religion. Obviously, if you carry a spiritual belief and that's your truth, you're going to pass it to your kids, right? Because you want them to follow the whatever it is that is your truth, or this is the way. And so obviously religion gets passed down through generations, but still, like I tell my kids, because I've thought a lot about this, I said, and they're in private Christian school, so they get the word of God literally every single day.
I didn't know they were in Christian school.
Yeah, dude, because you can't find a quality private school that's not rooted in faith. And I don't even necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like, dude, it's cool that these pastors are going out there and they're saying, hey, we need to build a local community-driven school where we get all the woke bullshit out and we teach them good morals. But part of that for these people is also learning about God. So my girls will come home and ask me questions. And I'm like, how am I qualified to tell you what happens when we die?
Yeah.
It's
the big one, man.
I said, like, let's be serious. I have my beliefs. I do think that there's a spiritual side of life. I think there's more than this physical flesh that we are currently inhabiting. But for me to tell you, I think there's a lot of arrogance in that. And I said, so right now you're going to a Christian school, you're reading the Bible. If that stuff resonates with you and that feels like that's calling to you and you want to be part of that, that's awesome. If it doesn't call to you and you feel like it's fucking weird and you don't want to be part of that, also awesome. You're your own fucking person.
Yeah.
You know?
That's part of life, is figuring out that side for you, like what is right.
And I think parents need to support their kids. That your kids aren't built to be your fucking clone. You already got to be you.
Yeah.
You know?
Although like one thing that religion that I think does really well is it provides the sort of structure that you need as a young mind, right? Like it makes the world make sense.
Yeah.
To me, religion is like, okay, humans, if we had to look into the eternity and the shortness of our existence on this planet, it's over in the blink of an eye when you look at how long our Earth's been around, right?
Bro,
that's overwhelmingly depressing. So
Yeah,
if you don't have something like religion to give you this foundation, it makes things make a little more sense for you, I think. But
when I think of how minuscule not only my existence is, but every last fucking piece of life on planet Earth will be extinguished by a giant rock at some point. Because it's already happened over and over and over, and it's going to happen again. And what that makes me land on is it's like, I go back and forth. On one hand, it's like life is almost meaningless, right? Like we're almost like a bacteria on a rock. And at any given time, boom, we can be extinguished. But then if you look at yourself, if you look at that context and it makes you think that life is meaningless, it also means the inverse of that it's literally everything. Because every single piece of, I don't care if you believe in creation or evolution, but everything had to work out exactly how it worked out for you to be sitting in that fucking chair. Mm-hmm. And that is something to fucking put a massive amount of celebration behind.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude. And I'm way more spiritual. Like I think about these things way more now in my 30s, not really being into any specific religion, than I was when I was in a deeply Catholic environment, like for the first 18 years of my life. Like one of my brothers is a Catholic priest. That's how Catholic my family was.
Really?
Yeah. One of the twins is a priest. His brother is a doctor. So they're a real powerhouse.
So your other brother, okay. A doctor and a priest.
Doctor
that
and
sounds
priest.
like a beginning of a bad joke.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. They get that a lot, actually.
Is there any issues, the fact that you've stepped away from the faith with the family?
There was like right away when I left for college and I came out. It's like I was coming out of the closet telling them that I wasn't Catholic. It was rough. First couple of years, there was a lot of badgering. There was a lot of, every time we talked.
Did they just want you to be saved or what was the...
I think that's part of it. I think there's some of that still with my family. They'll think that I'll come back to it eventually. And that probably gives them some comfort.
Because I had my papa kind of crying, giving me a hug the other day, and he's like, "I need to know that you'll be in heaven with me." And it's like, yeah, fuck, man, like don't put that pressure on me, you know? Because but here's the thing, man. Whatever people call heaven and hell, to me, we're gonna experience both of them. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. Like Tyler talks about this, and it's like, I don't think you ever get to arrive at a place where, everything's good now. Even after we leave the flesh that we're in, we're still going to have to, if everything's good, what that means is everything's neutral.
Yeah, because there's no contrast.
There's no contrast. You can't have hot without cold, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, if we're occupying a different realm, like our brains as we sit here, can't even really comprehend what that would entail, right? Yeah. So there's not words that can describe what that will necessarily be like, but I don't think it fucking really matters what we did here. I think you go to the next realm as just how the natural transition happens. I don't think we get categorized into these different places based on, I do think your own individual spirit gets to grow and enhance itself, and it maybe we come back again and you'll fucking live multiple lives. Like to me, that makes more sense than a fixed religion.
Yeah,
but
I think we're here to learn. Like I think we're cosmic beings that are here to have a human experience, like to experience all of the emotions and the beauty of only being on this plane, like on this earth for a very finite amount of time. Because if you're an infinite being, like there's no way to experience that. There's no way to even wrap your huge, enormous cosmic mind around, I'm only here for 70, 80, 90 years if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
That's the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So like this period for us is to learn, it's to improve, it's to come together, I guess, as people and realize that we're all the same thing. You know what I mean? Like we're getting deep into the mushroom tea at this point. We're going to sound like crazy people.
I'm pretty high right now, actually.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually, I think about this because when you say like come together and realize we're all the same, like, no, literally.
I'm not talking metaphorically.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
So there's this, have you heard of the, it's the theory of the egg theory. It's story of the egg. I think Andy Weir was the first one that put it down into words. It's this idea that it tells a story of a guy that dies and then he interacts with this cosmic being. But if I were to too long didn't read it, we are all the same cosmic being that is experiencing every single life there is to experience on Earth. So you are literally me in a different incarnation. I am you.
Yeah.
We reincarnate. I reincarnate. I say I as both of us. Like as every single person, as a peasant girl in ancient China, as a Democrat down the street, like we have been every single person. And the whole point is that this universe that we're in right now is an egg to grow our cosmic soul because we're an infant.
Yeah.
A cosmic infant. I'm not saying that I strictly believe this. I'm just relaying the story. I probably sound like I believe it. But the whole point is that there's this other cosmic being who is our parent, essentially. And they want us to grow. So they built this universe for us as an egg. And until we have lived every single human life and if we've reincarnated in every single human life and have learned what we need to learn, then you're an adult, essentially. Like you can fully step into that godhood. Like you become a god. And you can't remember in the moment, like while you're living those lives. And only for a brief instant after you finish that life, you remember, oh, fuck.
So do you think
that's why I'm here?
Do you think that when you say that, like all of this consciousness is literally part of one being?
Now you're asking my personal opinion?
No. You were just telling that story, but that's
the theory of the egg,
that's
right?
your theory now.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that, I guess my question is for people that believe that theory in like a singular consciousness, does that include everything? Like everything you can perceive, everything you can touch, the plants, the animals, the rocks, like everything that is part of your experience is all part of that collective consciousness. Because that is what people are saying, like, this is a simulation.
Kind of. I mean,
it's almost arriving at the same thing.
It's semantics. Like, how do you define a simulation? Like, is it something that was built by something else? If you believe in God, then okay, we're kind of in a simulation that He built. Like, He created everything.
Yeah.
If you're a fundamentalist Christian, like 6,000 years ago, everything came to be in 7 days because God commanded it to be so. Whatever. That's okay. God creating almost a simulation. Like, what's a simulation? What's real? What isn't? All we can do is live our lives to the best ability that we can. Now I'm going in loops, but if you go into specific religious ideas, like in Hinduism, you get into the reincarnation ideas. They will tell you that yes, I don't want to speak for them. Fuck, this is getting dangerous. They'll tell you like when you're truly enlightened. It's not something they take lightly. Like if you are enlightened, you feel the love and connection to not just other people, but everything. Kind of like you're talking about this table, the earth, whatever. It's all pure loving awareness. Ram Dass talked about this stuff a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with Ram Dass. But yeah, at a certain level, like if you ascend into godhood, you're feeling that love for absolutely everything on earth. It sounds hippy-dippy-ish, but if you can live your life that way.
It seems like most of the Eastern style of religions, like Hinduism and Buddhism, there's a lot more like being grounded in love and connection and enlightenment, as you say. Whereas the Western religions, it's like, man, they feel like they're about control, you know? And the crazy thing is like, fuck, man, our entire fucking world has been killing each other for thousands of years based on what religion you are. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, these guys are right and these guys are wrong. But history, depending on who the victor is, like, why is all of South America Catholic? Because of the fucking Spanish conquistadors gutting everybody and killing everybody. And now that becomes ingrained as the religion of that culture. That never made sense to me, dude. I can't wrap my head around that. It's like, those fucking invaders that used to do all that shit, like, fuck those people. You'd think that would be, but human beings, it's like we forget, you know?
We do. Yeah.
I don't know. It's fucking, I was just down there looking at some of the Mayan ruins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you kind of started talking about that after class.
Dude, and they're talking about, like, the calendar. And, dude, they had an understanding of the solar system as good as anyone ever. And how is that possible?
We're going all over the place.
Good, dude. That's what we do. We'll go into jiu-jitsu next. You gave me mushroom tea, and now I'm thinking about the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
I bought this down there.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's my Mayan jaguar made from obsidian, dude.
That is sick.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, fuck the Mayan calendar. Let's go into jiu-jitsu then, because this is Jiu Jitsu Chronicles Part 2. And bro,
we're
like
an hour in and we haven't talked about jiu-jitsu.
You were, we already prefaced it with saying like about how you didn't think that it was going to be as hard as it is.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of what made you fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Before you came here, you obviously had your McMaps training, like grappling is something that you've partaken in. But is this the first time you've actually jumped in and done traditional gi jiu-jitsu?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I was completely new to the gi. I was a little nervous about it actually because I just didn't know what to expect.
Did it feel nerdy kind of, or like when you say nervous?
Not nerdy. I think I almost felt like an imposter the first time I put it on. You know?
Yeah.
Like I have this belt. I didn't do anything for this belt. That's cool. Like
it's the hardest belt to earn, bro.
Yeah. It's never felt like pajamas to me. Like some people kind of downplay the gi, and it's like, no, this feels like at first it felt like something almost sacred.
Okay.
And then it turned into like, all right, time to put on the armor. Like you're about to go to war.
Yeah.
But no, I wrestled for 2 years in high school. But I never got a lot of good instruction because I started late. So I was junior and senior year.
But yeah, they're just going to send the guy out there and let him do what he does.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we had a really talented high school team. So like state champion type of team. And I wasn't worth it. I wasn't worth putting time into, honestly. So I usually just rolled with my brother who was 140. I don't know. He was one weight class. We were about the same weight class, but I was generally his dummy to practice takedowns on.
Okay.
So one thing that I got out of it was I got good at sprawling. So I am good at when someone shoots on me, I can at least kind of hold them off.
Yeah.
And try to circle around to the back. And that's kind of what I'm figuring out is my game. But now I'm learning I need to figure out takedowns so that I can control the tempo of the fight and not just, this is a life lesson as well, not letting someone else control what's going to happen, like right from the jump.
Yeah.
Right from when you're on your
feet
standing.
The initiative is key. The initiative is everything in a fight.
Yeah. After the first few months of jiu-jitsu, I got pretty frustrated. Just like, okay, well, I don't have takedowns, so I guess I just need to wait for them to try something.
Yeah.
And if they pull guard, well, shit, there goes my whole plan. And now I'm just caught up in all these grips I don't understand, and they're doing things with their legs now. Fuck, shit, I'm on my back.
Yeah.
That was the first few months. But yeah, anyway, I had some of that, at least bodily awareness, having done wrestling for a couple of years. McMap gives you, for those that don't know, McMap is the Marine Corps Martial Arts program. It's very, like, there are elements of jiu-jitsu for sure. There's arm bars. I think they even get into triangles and all your chokes and stuff. But it is almost more, I want to say like strip mall karate-esque. Like you do the proficiency exams to belt up.
Okay.
And it's kind of a factor, like they run you through it. Like they have so many Marines or officers, whatever, that they have to get through this process to get them their first belt. So it definitely becomes that kind of like I don't know, production line type of situation. So
which on one hand is kind of like, ugh, right? But when you're building a program for any type of like organization, it has to have that.
Yeah.
You know, so I've always praised McMap because I thought, as far as having something that you're going to teach, I think the Marine Corps has done pretty well.
It's better than nothing for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with, like, I came in familiar with, okay, I know kind of what an armbar looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And all the intricacies of it and all the little details, the invisible jiu-jitsu that make it effective, but I at least kind of understand where certain positions are. Almost as if I had, maybe if I had watched UFC or something for 5 or 10 years or whatever before I came in, which I didn't, but had the McMap, so that's helpful. Had the wrestlings for some body awareness. But dude, like, you come in as a day one white belt, and this is part of why I love jiu-jitsu so much. It just completely shatters your perception, your preconceived notion of who you are. Like, your ego, it has no place on the mats. Like, it can't exist. It cannot exist there. You can't walk in and have this idea of who you are because it's just going to get broken.
Because Daniel's over there.
Because fucking Daniel's over there. Yeah, he's gonna head and arm choke me 6 times.
Anytime he wants to.
Like, yeah, at will. Anyway, that part of what I love so much about jiu-jitsu is it forces you to be extremely pragmatic. Like, very realistic in who you are as a person, what you're capable of. And day one, that lesson gets learned. Like,
yeah,
violently. I don't want to say violently, dissuade people from trying it, but.
Well, it's, I mean, I always tell people, like, because people will come in and be like, hey, you know, I'm a carpenter. I work with my hands. I can't afford to get hurt, but I want to train. Bro, you're going to get hurt here. Like, I hate to say that, but at the end of the day, find a teammate that's been on the team for 2 years that hasn't tweaked or popped something.
Sure.
And it's not that you're going to experience a catastrophic injury. Most people aren't going to. But what we do is it's a martial art. It's inherently violent.
That's kind of the point.
That's the point. Yeah.
The point
you
is
know,
to break stuff.
Another thing that you said right out of the gates, which fucking stuck with me, is you're like, bro, I've lived in Lake Stevens. I think you said 2 years.
At that point, yeah, 2.5 years.
2 years. And like, I haven't met a group of good people until I walk through these doors. Mm-hmm. And it's because everything you just said, if you're willing to do that and put yourself through that, that puts you apart from most human beings.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 types of people, I think, is when they walk in and have that ego-shattering experience, 2 kinds of people. The first type are going to say, I never want to feel that way.
Again.
Ever again.
Yeah.
So I'm never stepping foot in a jiu-jitsu academy again. The other group of people are going to say, I never want to feel that way ever again. I'm going to come here like
as
3 times a week.
Yeah, of course.
This becomes part of my life now.
Yeah.
And
bro, Skyler?
Yeah.
He said that to me verbatim. Because did I tell you his story?
No.
You know, his little brother's on my kids' team.
I didn't know that.
Right? And his little brother's Jet, and he's a savage kid. And so Skyler was driving him, and he picked his little brother up. I said, bro, when are you going to fucking train? He goes, I'll train tonight. Kind of like, fuck you, I'll train tonight, you know? Because he wrestled his whole life. And then, again, he thought that a lifetime of wrestling, because, dude, I tell people all the time, wrestling is a great base. But what's greater is when you combine wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
It's fantastic.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just have one without the other. But when you marry those 2 together, you become fucking dangerous.
Yep.
And most of our team is married they're a skill set of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. And Skyler got eaten up, dude. And he didn't think that was possible.
Yeah.
And he walked over to me and goes, this is what I do now.
Yeah.
And he's been here every day since for like 3 years.
Imagine if you hadn't said that to him. Like, hey, when are you going to, if you had just let it continue, if you didn't challenge him, we would have been robbed of Skyler.
Yeah.
Like, I learned things from Skyler all the time.
Who's one of our best teammates.
Yeah.
You know? No, it's crazy how like certain people, when they meet that version, I always tell people, you don't find out who you are. They'll show you what you're made of. It shows you who you aren't.
Yeah.
You know? Because everybody thinks in a perfect world, well, dude, one of the most famous sayings in regards to jiu-jitsu is just stand up, right?
Yeah.
Just stand up. People think that's real.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on top of you, just stand up is not possible. You're what, 6 months in now?
10.
10.
Yeah.
Just stand up is not possible with you on top of them. And like the amount of knowledge and the amount of capability that you can gain in a short amount of time is incomprehensible to most people.
1000%, dude.
You
Even
know?
within a few months, like I think with any new skill that you acquire, like there's that initial, I don't want to call it a bell curve, but like your learning is exponential because you go from nothing to having a decent grasp of like maybe some fundamentals in a few months.
Yeah.
And that just feels like you're pumped. You're like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing ever. I understand this. This is starting to click.
Yes.
Then you hit your first plateau and you're like, oh, I get
Where
it.
did you hit your first plateau? You think 3 months or something?
Yeah, 3 or 4 months, I think, is when I started to settle into stuff and I wasn't actively challenging myself. So I was avoiding certain positions that I knew I was weak in. Because I hadn't put in the time to get comfortable in those shitty positions, like bottom side control. Fucking hate it. But you find yourself there a lot when you're a white belt. So if I do everything that I can to win the standing up game, to never have to get into that bottom position, great. That's excellent. I'm gonna focus on that. I'm gonna get really good at trying to.
But bro.
Anyway, that was where my brain was.
But that's not a wrong place to find yourself.
Yes, but
I know you're. Yeah, that's right.
But.
That's jujitsu. Yes, but
You have to get comfortable. That's the other thing I love about it is you have to put yourself in those shitty positions that you're not going to enjoy. I'm going to get suffocated by Jake or Joshua or one of our savage blue belts for a full round.
Yeah.
On the bottom, and those experiences are what allow you to, I guess,
there's big Jake's blue belt and medium Jake blue belt.
Big Jake, yeah.
I would imagine big Jake from a white belt perspective would be pretty miserable role.
Oh, terrifying. Yeah.
Because he has great pressure.
Dude.
And he's a little mean, but in a good way. Yeah. I shouldn't say in a good way, in a way that I think is conducive to becoming a good fighter.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. And when guys like him and Joshua can
Joshua, yeah, another one. Just a big, strong, technically sound.
But they move like a smaller dude. Like they're very fast. And there's a lot of confidence that comes with like when you're that size and you know what you're capable of. Like I'll go a week and have some really great rolls and I'll be feeling good about myself. You know, whole fucking hanging out with blue belts kind of thing. And then I'll roll with one of them. Or any other, anyone else in the gym. Sometimes it's a white belt, and just get completely. They'll beat the brakes off me.
The fascinating thing is that never ends, dude.
Never, dude.
It never ends. I literally told this story yesterday with I recorded with Rachel and Christy. Is that like the plateau, right? Mm-hmm. And then you grow, and then you plateau, and I just went through a big growth spurt as a black belt. I would say I was super frustrated. I was feeling like I don't get better anymore. Like I feel like I'm stagnant. I feel slow. You can ask Jenny how many times I've said it's time to quit jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because like my body and my brain just won't retain anymore, whatever it is. And then as soon as you get super frustrated, boom, growth spurt.
I was going to say, let me ask you, was there a catalyst for getting out of that plateau? Or was it just, you just have to sit in that?
You sit in it.
Okay.
You have to sit in it. I honestly, I don't think, and this is a Joaoism. He's like, there is no fucking magic formula. The magic formulas show up.
Yeah, dude. That's the other life lesson I'm kind of learning from jiu-jitsu.
That's the magic formula. Everybody, and like Big Tom, who is already a phenom.
Mm-hmm. He's been training, a little over a year?
Yeah, like a year and a half.
That pisses me off.
Bro, he's so fucking good.
He's very good.
And for people listening, you don't understand what I mean. He is black belt level good.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
He's a physical specimen, first of all. So he's, 6'4" or something? And he's built like a Greek god.
But that's just part of it.
He's also obsessed with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, dude.
And when you combine those two things, like a healthy obsession.
Stand the fuck by, dude, But what I was saying is like, I finally went through this growth phase where it's like, fuck yes, I just leveled up. It literally feels like you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
And do. And you're like this bigger, stronger, more powerful version of yourself. And it happens like turning on a light switch. One day you'll come into practice and you're better than you were yesterday, and you feel it and you know it.
Things just make a little more sense.
And bro, I started mauling all my blue and purple belts. It's just like, I mean, as a 9-year black belt now, I should be able to do that, right? But I was just like taking guys that are very, very tough and toying with them. And I'm like, dude, I don't even feel like I feel like I'm on a jog right now and I'm beating these savage men. And then like the last roll before my surgery, and I don't know if they're getting very, very good in closing the gap or if I regressed or what the fuck happened, but it was Marcus, Zach, and Jake Chechny, Uki Jake.
So a bunch of savage blue belts.
And they all gave me a fit, dude.
Well, those are also guys that are in here all the time.
They're here all the time.
Putting in their hours too.
But it's like I went from one day doing whatever I wanted to them to literally the next, I don't know, it was like Monday kicking their asses, Wednesday. It took everything I could fucking do to keep them at bay. And I'm like, how does the dynamics of a fight change that much in 2 days? And then the other thing that's bad about it is that's what I went out on. All right, now it's off for surgery, you know?
That was a lesson that you needed to, I don't know what that lesson is, but it needed to happen that way for you at that time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it
and that's the beauty in it. The reason I said this, it literally never, ever comes to an end, you know?
Which is kind of why I decided to start my own podcast, to let new white belts or people even just thinking about starting my podcast that I literally just started. It's called the White Belt Mafia. It's to help people understand, like, okay, you're going to have these first few months where it feels really good to be learning. You're going to get smashed a lot, but there's this exponential growth. You're going to hit a plateau. That's normal. That's okay. You got to keep showing up. But then like giving them some tools to help them in their growth journey. Like, yes, we all have to keep showing up, and that's part of the path. We're all on the path. But what are some tools people can use? Like for me, it's a lot of it is position over submission, or position before submission.
Yeah, right? And I am an advocate of that too.
100%. Like, you know? Hearing you talk about it, and then like letting it really click in my brain though, like being in live roles and thinking a little less about the fight or flight, like panicking, tensing, the typical spazzy white belt shit. Once you get past that after the first few months and you can kind of settle into a little bit more thinking.
Yeah.
That's when the position over submission really started helping me. Because if I could think about very specific, like 3 things during a roll, and it would help me not get completely mauled, and it would maybe help me to get in a position that isn't quite as shitty, like going from a very uncomfortable position to something that's slightly more comfortable, that's a fucking win.
Bro,
right?
I tell people all the time, the term win is very subjective.
Yeah. Dude, after months and months of getting mauled, and then you finally like get out of, like you escape. Your first escape, like you probably don't remember what that was like. That was 20 years ago, man. No,
it's crazy. It's hard to remember. Like, I don't even remember getting my blue belt.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
That is why I started my podcast, because all the podcasts out there that only talk about jiu-jitsu, like the Jiu Jitsu podcasts, are just black belts talking about black belt shit.
Yeah.
It's like the intricacies of reverse de la Riva. If I'm a day one white belt, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, I'm trying to figure out what can I put in my mind that I'm not going to forget when I'm in fight or flight mode to help me survive this and to grow from this.
It's funny you say that, because Rachel, recording yesterday, she said that. She goes, on day one, you were doing like, or day one for her, which was 486 classes ago or something, because she has some giant spreadsheet. And
holy shit.
She documents everything, dude.
That's incredible.
It's kind of cool.
I love that.
She's like, yeah, I walked upstairs and it was reverse de la Riva or some shit. She's just like, what the fuck? Yeah. So luckily now we have our 101 kind of on board, right? But I like what you're saying is that when people that have been doing this for 20 years, that's a normal conversation. But that's not going to resonate with someone that's like heard Joe Rogan say, jiu-jitsu is really good for you. I think I want to try that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the little shit too. Like you probably see this a lot when you're teaching, like if you're teaching kids or if you're teaching the adult beginners. I guess maybe now that fundamentals is upstairs, it's a little different, but like we'll ask questions that won't even register in your brain because you do like you're on autopilot for a lot of your rolling. You're looking for opportunities. Like you're a fucking very skilled black belt. The new guy is like, well, wait, what's a good position to even be like, what's the point of being here if like XYZ happens? And like those little questions that you wouldn't even like, well, obviously you want your weight to be over here.
Yeah.
Those are very overwhelming for a brand new person. So I wanted to start having conversations with people like you and like every color belt along the way.
Fuck yeah, dude.
To pull them back into their white belt days, like to force them
pull a lot of our white belts too.
Yeah,
that would be because exactly like you just said is like, I don't even remember being a white belt. Mm-hmm. So that part of my journey is off in the ether. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I want to ask you that. Like when I think about rolling in the position over submission, just like basic concepts like that, I'm thinking about like, okay, if I can get inside control. If I can control the ends of levers, like hands and feet, places where they're weak mechanically, like if thinking it from like an engineering perspective, like keeping simple things like that in my brain is very helpful during a roll because otherwise the thousands of moves and variations of moves techniques, it gets very overwhelming. So do you have like a list of 2 or 3 things that you think would be very helpful for the day one person? Like if you can just keep these in your brain.
Yes. And bro, this is still how I roll today. After 20 years, you have to determine who has the initiative. And the initiative can go back and forth 5 times in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not always who's appears to be winning, right? The initiative is who's carrying the more powerful energy. And bro, there's been times, who the fuck was I just had somebody mounted and they were bucking so hard and they weren't stopping and I couldn't get any attack set up because they were so good at keeping me off my balance. And at the end of the roll, I said, I had you mounted, but you were carrying the initiative. Mm-hmm. Because I was frustrated. That means you were carrying the initiative.
Yeah.
You know? Speaking of training, we got people here right now.
Damn, they're going hard.
I think that's Marcus. Probably Marcus and the police crew. So if you hear music in the background, we are at a jiu-jitsu academy. But you have to determine if you carry the initiative or if you don't.
Yeah.
If you carry the initiative, fucking go. Like that, I can reach, I can extend. My elbows can disengage from my body because I'm the one that's on the offense, not the defense. As soon as I'm on defense, everything has to come in close back to here, right? And so, and bro, like I know it's crazy for people to think about, but if my arm is here, I'm safe. If my arm's here, it's getting ripped off my body.
Describe for the podcast people. He's got his elbow tight to his body versus chicken winged out.
If there's connection to my body and I have my hand up by my neck, everything is safe here. But if my elbow gets flared out even 2 inches, I'm in grave danger.
Yeah.
But that understanding comes from also, if I'm in a position of dominance, that's what I'm hunting. Right. You know? And so it's
really helpful for the day one person because there's such a human tendency, I think, to want to post your arm way out.
100%,
right?
bro.
Try to shove someone off you, and that's armbar city. That's giving them your limbs, as opposed to, it's the opposite of what you would think when you're in that fight or flight moment, like keeping everything tight, maybe even connecting your knee to your elbow, whatever. Like staying in that tight little frame is actually more safe than trying to distance.
Yeah.
Stuff like that's very helpful for the day one person. Like
I also think like I'm going to break down what like position before submission is because like we're using that phrase. Some people might not even understand what you necessarily mean by that. Because there are people that like, will just kind of, especially feet guys, they'll just roll under you and see how can I grab your feet, right? And don't get me wrong, a guy like, Mikey Musumeci or whatever, he's going to roll under me. He's going to grab my feet. He's going to break them. That's what's going to happen. I understand that, right? But I'm also understanding that that's a fucking 1 in 8 billion people. Most other human beings, you are going to have an exponentially better chance of surviving or winning some type of encounter if I control their body, right? And I don't control their body by grabbing hold of their foot.
Yeah, there's a reason that leg locks and shit aren't really super popular in UFC.
Yeah, and I mean,
they can happen, but
there's a handful of guys that have gotten good at them, but then it's like the evolution of warfare. Mm-hmm. You watch people that are good at attacking feet, people figure them out, and they start beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Dan Henderson did that to Husamal Paul Harris. And that's the whole reason why electric jiu-jitsu exists.
Yeah, Joao.
You know what I'm saying? Because he brought Joao up to fucking solve that problem of ripping feet off. But and here's the other thing, dude. When you're a white and blue belt, learn to control human beings. You can learn to rip people's feet off at purple, brown, black. And I'm not saying just turn a blind eye to it and don't invest anything into it. But right now, I think it makes much more sense for you to learn how to pin a man to the ground and hold him there indefinitely, as opposed to how to blow his knee with an inverted heel hook, And control fascinates me. I'm more fascinated by control than submissions any day of the week, because making somebody quit by implementing a catastrophic injury, sure, that's cool and it's fascinating in its own right, but to be able to make a man be in a position against his will for as long as you want, bro.
There's this like inevitability piece to it. Like no matter what happens, I can force, I'm not saying me because I'm a fucking white belt, but say if it's you, if you want to play that game, position over submission, a lot of good pressure, a lot of control. Like there is nothing that other person is going to be able to do to stop that from happening. And it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I love that kind of game. Like if I can get there eventually, that's
bro,
my goal
100%
as well.
You're going to get there. And you're very intelligent and you're very calculated in the way you do things. And your jiu-jitsu is going to reflect that. Everybody's jiu-jitsu reflects who they are, which is one thing that's interesting about it, right? One of the biggest elements that I've discovered of control is spine alignment, right?
Yes.
Because everything that we do, especially if we're a strong, capable person, everything you do, you have to have good spinal alignment. So now when I have guys in side control or mount, I will purposely take their head and go like this. And I'll just tilt it just outside of alignment. Because, bro, as soon as your head is off to the side, what am I going to go bench press like this?
All your power is gone.
Am I going to deadlift like this?
Yeah.
I can't do anything like this, right?
Yeah.
You also can't defend yourself in a fight. And maybe you can, but psychologically, when your spine is out of alignment as an athlete and a person that's used to certain movement patterns, now that movement pattern is different. Take a guy like Eli. Mm-hmm. I can't. You're not going to be able to do this to Eli.
Fuck no, dude.
You're gonna have a hell of a time before you can do this to a guy like Eli.
Eli's scary.
I'll do these little things to him because he's 21 or whatever. He's fucking just cock strong, cardio for days, and no quit. Mm-hmm. You can't break that kid.
Yep.
You can beat him, but you can't break him. Skylar's another one. You can beat him, but you can't break him. I like to push these young kids and try and break them. And you can't, some of them. And that's when I'll get to these like, I'm going to sound like I'm some fucking creep here trying to figure out how to fucking destroy people emotionally, right? But I'll have like a neon belly on Eli and I'll just be fucking trying to put my knee into China. And it's like, dude, he can take the pressure. He can take the fucking pain. I'll reach under and pop his head and make his head go out of alignment. The wheels start to fall off. And it's like, oh.
I've felt that.
There's something to this.
Yeah. Like Jake specifically, blue belt, big blue belt Jake, he he's very good at the spine massage. So as soon as you said spinal, it's like I have back problems from the Marine Corps. So
yeah,
that's something I've had to like work around. And that's something else you learn in jiu-jitsu is like anyone can do it. I mean, look at Mark, black belt Mark. He's been doing this forever. He had a catastrophic shoulder injury pretty early on, and he built his entire game around it. He just, you don't get my right arm. Like that's fine. And he will completely manhandle you with one arm. But dealing with back problems and then going up against someone that is very good at the spinal manipulation stuff, that sucks so much. Because as soon as my spine, like you mentioned, is out of that alignment, I'm pretty much ready to tap.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to be able to get out of bed for the next 3 weeks. And it's not worth it when you got 2 kids and a job.
Will's another one.
Yeah.
The way he applies pressure makes people want to break. Mm-hmm. Let's take a quick break. Take a piss break.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to turn that speaker off because not only is the music coming into the podcast, it's about to be a fucking copyright infringement. And we're back. And just because it's the Jiu Jitsu Chronicles, the podcast kind of did go all over the place. And that's good. But we're talking about spinal alignment now. And the funny thing is, like I was just telling you the story about how my last roll before my surgery, I felt like I was getting my fucking ass beat. It's Marcus, who's out there training right now. You've gotten plenty of rounds with Marcus, I'm assuming.
I think one.
Oh, maybe, one?
Honestly,
okay.
Yeah. I think he was away for a bit for was it command school?
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe it was just like schedules not aligning as much. I know they come in midday quite a bit, which might work out for me. So I'm hoping maybe I get some more rounds with him and Nick.
Yeah. Those fucking dudes are monsters, man.
Yeah, that'll do some things for me, I'm sure. Like almost like talking to Tyler about his early days.
Yeah.
He was the first like real interview that I did for my pod and talking about how when he started, it was a pretty small group here.
It was.
And it was savages and it was big dudes. And he just spent about a year getting completely manhandled, but it built up his game in such a way that like he wouldn't have been able to do that if it was a full gym of people his size or smaller. He would have been a lot more aggressive. He wouldn't have gotten as good on the defensive side of things. Like it forced him to adapt his game to overcome those bigger, stronger people. And he doesn't regret it at all.
Dude, there's everything's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
As the gym has grown, we have fucking 230 students now. You can go 5 rounds at the end of the night with dudes that you can kick their ass. You know what I'm saying? If you want to. Like there's enough new people now. Or you can go 5 rounds that's like, I want to get fucking mauled. But now the individual, I feel, has more say in what route they go. Do you know who the last person was that to get just, they had no say in their jiu-jitsu journey? Your jiu-jitsu journey, as you're the smallest and you're the only white belt in the room, was fucking Zach.
Really?
And bro, Zach is...
I can't picture Zach as that person because he's a monster.
But bro, Zach is also... I mean, he probably weighs 165 now, 175 or something. He was like 20 pounds lighter. And it was before the gym blew up. And he was the only white belt in the room for like a year.
Damn.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, to be that kind of to keep showing up to that also says something about your character.
He moved here for that.
Oh, fuck, dude.
He came to the gym when he lived in Seattle, and then he's like, I'm moving to Lake Stevens.
It's incredible. Like,
and now that fucking dude is dangerous.
Yeah. Dude, there's something about this place that does that to people, though. Like my buddy Theo, probably my best friend up here in the Pacific Northwest. I roped him into guns and geese. Like I got him with the hook of like, hey, guns.
Yeah.
He loves guns. And I've been bugging him about starting jiu-jitsu. And he got one weekend like a taste of the community here. And he signed up.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Like right after. And now he's a team member here. So
it's cool, man.
There's something about this place that just like when you get around other people that care about the same things you do, and you're all trying to just better yourselves in some way, it's something we don't get out. Like you were talking about me when I came up to you after it was probably like a month or so in, I was like, dude, I've been here in Lake Stevens for 2.5 years, and it sounds conceited, it sounds like egotistical to say, but like I haven't been impressed by anyone I've met. Like all of the guys I run into, it's people that are out of shape, they're fat, they care more about drinking or sports than they do about being a good father or improving themselves somehow, or, you know, keeping their bodies healthy, whatever. I wasn't meeting the kind of people I needed to meet.
And bro, it's not egotistical though. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not even really being judgmental. It's just, you're pointing out facts.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you're the type of person that the facts prove that you don't really care about yourself, bro, how am I supposed to care about you then?
True.
You know what I mean?
So I take all that ego and I walk in here. And there's night 1, 30 fucking people that I want to be hanging out with. Like, oh, you guys have been here the whole time? I was kind of pissed.
You're like, dude, all my friends were here and I didn't even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I felt a severe, like, I have wasted a couple of years. Like, I could have just come in here. I've been putting it off. I knew I needed to come in here, but
you'd be a fucking blue belt.
I know, God, like if I had started in my 20s even, my God.
But bro, every single person that falls in love with jiu-jitsu wished they start when they were younger.
Yep.
Every single person. And so, you know, one of my coaches said to me, is like, hey, you're the youngest you're ever going to be right now. So that's it, you know?
Yep.
What did you say about the past? You said something earlier that I liked, because I was like,
yeah, the
coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever. And you said,
it's kind of how I'm trying to live my life nowadays. Like, there's the unchangeable past, and there's I think the unpredictable future is probably what you could call it. Like any future you're anxious about doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's something you're making up in your brain. So all of the anxiety that we have about future events is over something that doesn't even exist. Like, and maybe it never will.
That's
Past,
right.
You can't change it at all. So why worry about that? You may as well just be right here in the present moment, because that's all there is forever. Yeah. And if you can do that, I'm still working on it, bro. I get so fucking, like, I'm working through all my anxiety stuff, but I get really spun up about money, like never being financially prepared enough. I'm pretty good with money, and like I like investing and all that stuff, but I do a lot of worrying unnecessarily. So I'm working through all that.
You're a fucking numbers guy, though.
I am. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But bro, I think that shit affects all of us. Like when I think of it's so funny too, because it depends on when you get me. If you talked to me this morning, I was gonna fucking move to Thailand.
Yeah.
I don't need fucking anything from anyone, right?
Yep.
But if my life goes as planned, my kids are gonna be set up too. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I know like some people are like, dude, everyone needs to make it for themselves. But dude, it's harder. It's becoming harder and harder to quote, make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so on one hand, again, dude, like you have to invest some kind of concern. Like, bro, to take it back to jiu-jitsu, if you didn't give a fuck about what was next at jiu-jitsu, like that's not going to serve you. You kind of have to have a plan or a goal or something you're kind of working towards, or have an idea of where you need to go.
Totally.
And then just be content with the path that it takes to get there, you know?
Like do the work in the now so that future you will thank you for it, essentially.
Yeah.
The thing that I keep saying things that I love about jiu-jitsu, but it forces you to be present too. Like we talk about the unchangeable past and the unpredictable future. There's nowhere else but the present when you're rolling.
Bro,
like there's it is impossible to be thinking about shit you did years ago.
No motherfuckers thinking about their bills.
No. God,
or they're fucking, you know, like, God damn it. I forgot to pay last month's mortgage or whatever. None of that shit, dude. It's fucking right now. And what it allows you to do is like, I don't think human beings, and we're putting this together as we're fucking, I'm kind of putting this together now as we're talking, you know.
The Michael Scott thing. Sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going. I hope to find it along the way.
Yeah, exactly. But like, we don't allow ourselves to just pause and be present, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that to be able to do that is fucking not really conducive to anything that we do in life. We're always going somewhere. We have a plan. We have a meeting. We have a bill to pay. We have someone to pick up. We have somewhere to be. Everything is about something taking place. In jiu-jitsu, right then and there, for those handful of minutes that you're connected to another human being, none of that matters.
Yep.
It's, I'm going to strangle you or you're going to strangle me. And to people that don't do it, I know it sounds fucking crazy, but there's peace in that chaos.
So much.
And bro, it's the same thing I tell people about going to war. When I was 22 years old, running around the streets of Ramadi, sure, there was this inherent risk attached to that, but nothing else mattered. And that's what was appealing about it.
Yeah.
And you taste that on the mats, dude.
Totally.
It's the same concept, you know?
You really do. And for me personally, it's like jiu-jitsu was almost a gateway drug into, I don't want to say spirituality, but this year has been very formative for me in terms of like figuring some shit out and doing the deep inner work that I need to do to let go of some things from my past and to get over stuff, but also like figure out who I am. Like I've always been moving, like you said, there's always something to be worried about. There's always something to be working towards. We never pause.
Yeah.
We never sit in the present moment. Jiu-jitsu was that for me. Like it allowed for that space, I guess. And when I got a taste of it in jiu-jitsu, just now thinking about it, this wasn't something I was planning on talking about, but it's almost like that became the catalyst for me maybe getting into more of the meditation, getting into the deep inner work, magic tea, like as medicine, like figuring out, trying to dust off the dark corners of my soul.
Our team's just a bunch of stoners, right?
Dude, we have an awesome, like random, anyone you could hope to meet, you're going to meet on the Electric North team.
Well, bro, did you hear it was Saturday when everyone was here. We got the fights. I think it was Kozak that's like, our team even has a shaman.
Yeah, dude.
And like, we laugh about it, but it's also true, man.
It's very true.
There's some shit going on with Tyler, dude.
I've been working with Tyler.
You know, that's what I'm saying, dude. Fucking dude knows inherently, he just, I don't know what it is. I can't put it into words, but that's what's great about finding a community of people, is that's what it should be.
Yeah.
You know, is like a group of people that you can lean on, that you can fucking go to, that you can like, you want to go do some dark shit and you need some homies to fucking turn their cell phones off and fucking put ski mask on. Maybe you go talk to Jordan, right? You need some fucking magic tea. Maybe you go talk to Tyler. You need a good, you know, like Christy is really good at like helping with the wives, their fitness journeys, their fucking nutrition plans. Like there's a person for almost everything that you could want here.
It's a tribe.
And it's because they fucking care about you.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is exactly what a tribe is and how humans are sort of built.
It's, bro, if you didn't, you know, people are like, oh, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I don't need anyone. And it's like, trust me, I get that. Sometimes I want to disappear too. We've already talked about that today. But from an evolutionary standpoint, if you don't have strong people to your right and your left, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
So we have to have that. I mean, the need for human beings in relationships, it's essential. And it's not happening anymore. And you can't, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like all the bullshit that people are dealing with their phones, right? Go and actually invest in real human beings, and you're going to be fucking surprised what it does for you. And that's what I always say. Jiu-jitsu is the catalyst that we use. I don't know what else we could be doing out there, but there's probably some other shit that could still be as beneficial, just simply based on coming together as people, you know?
100%.
Fuck,
the community element's so important. I think that's the hook, honestly, that gets people, because the skills are one thing, like feeling more confident as an individual. It's so important. Like, I think people join for that reason. They join for the, I don't want to call it selfish, but the individual reasons.
Yeah.
I want to get better at or I want to be more confident. I want to lose some weight. I want to feel like I'm a capable person if someone put their hands on me, whatever. For whatever reason you join, it's that individual element, and that sticks with you for sure. But when you add the community element to it,
yeah, that's when people are like,
everything you just talked about, dude, like you find this tribe. And I think that's why people get so almost like fanatic about jiu-jitsu, is because it gives them all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like a cult sometimes, but no, it's just, you get that tribal sort of a group of people looking out for each other.
I think it goes from tribe to cult once the leaders have sexual rights to all the women, which I don't have. So we're a tribe. Yeah. We're not a cult.
That's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, you know what's funny too is like, I think about, it's funny too, because my dad used to say to me, "Is like, bro, you're like that David Koresh motherfucker. Like, people just want to fucking be around you, and they just want to be a fucking part of what you're doing." And it's like, dude, the difference between a tribe and a cult again is like, there's this figurehead, this person that's like, bro, there's fucking every single fucking man that's part of our team is an equal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that. And like, that's what makes this place special, because it's like, sure, I built the walls and I have good jujitsu that I can show you. But when you walk through that door, it's not Professor Greg and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you were telling me like, bro, let me look into some things that have happened to you with your Bitcoin. And like, instantly we're here as equals and we're here to help each other, you know? And it's fucking cool, man.
It is. I think, is there a little bit of almost ego death for you when you think about like, you've done such a good job building community here, and there's so many capable people that can kind of like, right now you're laid up, like you're recovering.
Yeah.
There's other people that are stepping in to help teach class, to keep the things moving along. And it's such a great community. Like, was there a little bit of ego death for you knowing that this can continue without you? Like, how are you feeling right now?
Bro, that's the goal. Because
it's not a problem for you.
I like the unknown, and to tell you the truth, I'm getting too comfortable. Like, I'm making too much money and I'm fucking
it's a terrible problem.
I know, but it's like the gym is doing fucking super well. I mean, in me and Jenny's fight last night, this came up because it's like, dude, I ain't here to teach people arm bars. Now, don't get me wrong. It's what I'm doing right now, and I love it, right? I cherish this. I cherish the team. I would die for any of our teammates. I just know there's something else for me.
Yeah.
And so I know at some point that's going to require me to move on. And I don't know necessarily what that looks like, but it's exactly what Lappin did. He built a team exactly like our team, and then he moved on. And he said, dude, Vita's not Greg Lappin. It's Vita. And I want that. If we don't look at our teams like that, then they're not really an authentic team. It's just the Greg Anderson show. Nobody's interested in that, you know?
Yeah.
I like being here. I like sharing space. But ultimately, long-term vision, like a lot of different people should be able to come in and teach arm bars. The energy that is created on the mats, that needs to be self-sustaining, regardless of necessarily any one individual that is here or not here. And don't get me wrong, like when people leave sometimes, it's like, fuck, man. Like Tom's getting stationed in Japan, I think in July, right? The team's going to feel that from a jiu-jitsu standpoint, right? But everything continues, you know? It's bigger than any one person. And, you know, I was talking to Will about it the other day, because Will's dream is to be a Black Belt Academy owner. And bro, there's nobody better than Will.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the other day, like, I don't remember when we were talking about it, because I've always been supportive of him. When he gets his black belt and he wants to build his own gym, like as long as it's not across the street, sure, I got your back, bro, you know? And then, you know what he said the other day? He goes, maybe it's this gym. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude.
That probably got your wheels turning.
Will knows. I got an adventure to live, bro, you know? I want to sail the world. I want to do other shit. Or I want to fucking, see where the instability of this nation takes itself. Sure. And we'll just see, you know?
I think that one line too just tells you what kind of person Will is. Like, he's thinking long term. Mm-hmm. Like, he's here. Like, this is his family. Like, maybe it's this gym means 40 years from now, like, Will's still going to show up for you.
I know, bro.
He's that kind of person.
And I've had some moments over the last couple months that have been very impactful like that. And one of them, we were all sitting on the fucking picnic tables, and it was a savage group of men, like it always is. Like, I don't rate somebody's savageness based on the color of their belt. Your jiu-jitsu is going to be as good as my jiu-jitsu once you put 10,000 hours in. You know what I'm saying? That's just, congratulations. I've spent more time on the mats. But as far as like who we are on the inside as men, dude, a savage group of men was sitting at the table one
There's
night.
some fucking black belts in here. Like,
you know, yeah. And Jordan we were talking about exactly like that, is like, yeah, I may be here to teach you guys jiu-jitsu, but make no mistake, like, I consider us all equals and friends, and that's the most important part. And then Jordan looks at me and goes, but Greg, if you told us it's go time, we know it's go time. And I was like, coming from Jordan, dude, saying something to me, bro, I don't want to fight Jordan.
No.
I know, I likely know where that, unless I get his back or something, you know what I mean, in a scramble.
Even if you do, I've seen him roll where someone has his back, like almost full choke in, and he'll just like completely flatten out on the ground and just like look over like he's bored. He'll just play in those positions because he's an absolute savage.
And I understand. I can beat Jordan in gi jiu-jitsu because we are in a controlled environment and we're agreeing as men.
These are the rules.
These are, as friends, this is what we don't do to each other. When you allow all the rules that we don't do to each other, I think Jordan is the king.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a scary, scary motherfucker, dude.
Very capable person.
And he looks up to me as someone in a leadership position. And that resonated with me because it's like, oh, fuck, dude. This place is bigger than jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, Jocko may have fucking learned about leadership, commanding SEAL teams and shit, and that's cool. But you can learn almost everything you need to learn about leadership at a jiu-jitsu academy too.
A good one, anyway.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like a fucking junior leadership development course. Come in and teach kids class.
Dude. Yeah.
You know?
That'll teach you more than any formalized course inside or outside the military. Like, you just touched on something with jiu-jitsu. Damn it, I lost it.
Oh, damn it.
Sorry.
Well, mushrooms aren't like weed for me. If I smoke weed, dude, it's like ideas come, and if I don't grab a hold of them, it's gone, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like mushrooms are a little different where it's like everything is still in a space where you can access it, you know?
For me, I get like a lot of internal understanding. Like, things make sense for me that maybe didn't make sense quite as much before, but I can't effectively communicate it as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's mostly, it stays inside, which is still good for when you're trying to like dust off the corners of your soul and do some deep work and confront things you don't want to confront. Excellent tool.
Well, bro, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast. I ate 10 grams of mushrooms with Tyler.
Yeah.
And we went to the underworld together.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, dude.
Yeah, I heard about it.
There are not words to describe what that was like.
Yeah.
The only thing that felt good, though, was reaching down and grabbing handfuls of dirt and just squeezing them, dude. And it's like, it's literally rooting you into the planet.
Yeah. And you learned things in those moments. I just remembered what I was getting at with jiu-jitsu is that there's lessons to be learned if you want to. Like, you can go as deep as you want, like in a specific scenario. If you got the brakes beaten off of you, you just completely got your ass handed to you. You can choose to make yourself a victim in that moment, or you can figure out the lesson to be learned there.
Yeah.
And there's lessons to be learned every second of every roll. Same thing in life. Like, you can let things come at you and be a victim to it, or you can look on the bright side. Like, if you have a bad trip with mushrooms or whatever, My first mega dose, whatever heroic dose you want to call it, I took like 7.5 grams by myself up in my bedroom.
Bro, you can't do that shit in your bedroom.
With a face mask. Yeah, I was trying to go inside, so I like put the face mask on, put a playlist on.
I still think you have to be in the woods. Maybe, I don't know why.
Nature's the best place, but I've done a lot of really, really good work in my home.
Okay.
You just have to figure out the right set and setting. The right dosage is important, but then also like the playlist. I've got these bone conduction headphones, so it feels like it's being ported right into your brain. Fucking love it. There's this great playlist, Music for Mushrooms is what it's called. So it's a 5-hour, like, intentionally built by this dude who's really good at the atmospheric type of music. It's supposed to be a journey. Anyway, there's so many lessons to be learned that, like with jiu-jitsu too, like I can choose to say my jiu-jitsu sucks. I've plateaued for months and I'm not getting anywhere. Or I can like stop whoever I was rolling with afterwards and say, hey, in this position, like what were you doing? Or like, what could I have been doing? Like try to find the lesson. And when you do that, you're not just stuck in a plateau, like you're making progress. But if you don't do that, then you're just stuck and you're living life like I think the majority of people live their lives, just pretty much asleep. Like you're not making any progress. You're just focusing on how much things suck. And
Dude, and they're treading water.
Yeah. And you wonder why
awaiting their
suck.
death.
Like,
You know what I'm saying? But bro, jiu-jitsu mirrors life. I say that literally every episode.
And I hear you say it all the time, but like
the deeper you dive into that, or the deeper you dive into jiu-jitsu, the more you realize how it mirrors life. And that's a perfect example. Like when things go bad in jiu-jitsu, do you lean into it? Or do you try and run from it? And do you hide from it? And bro, like I am not immune to this at black belt. And that's what's fascinating about it. You got the rest of your life to use this tool on the mats to constantly overcome different fucking emotional like triggers and anxiety and all of these things. And dude, like I got swept by Tom.
Yeah.
I don't get swept anymore, right? Which is kind of crazy to say, because obviously if I go down to California and I roll with Boucher or Joao or the monsters down there, they're going to do whatever they want to me. But in this environment, I'm not getting swept unless I'm kind of like going light, right? I wasn't going light. I'm trying to beat him and he fucking swept me and then instantly had a bunch of pressure on me. And dude, all the bells and whistles were going off. You know, it's like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. I'm in a really, really bad position right now. And then I got 2 grips on him. I got a grip on his leg and a grip on his gi top. And I was like, fucking, dude, like giving yourself a pep talk, you know? It's like, relax, okay? If you freak out right now, you're going to get submitted. I knew that, and we've already discussed who Tom is. He's this big athletic phenom who's also very, very, very technical. And he also sees jiu-jitsu in a way that most people don't see jiu-jitsu, including myself.
What do you think that is? The way that he sees it that you don't?
We'll go into that. Okay. We'll go into that next. And so I was like, if I allow these emotions of frustration to express themselves and I just fucking goddamn no, like I'm just gonna get out of here, I'm gonna get fucking strangled. Mm-hmm. So remain calm, be calculated, and don't try and force anything. Wait for some space to open up, and then you have to capitalize on that. And if it takes 10 seconds, cool. If it takes 2 minutes, cool. This is what you have to do.
That moment, I think, was probably a really good opportunity for you, or like it was a gift to you to remember what it was like to be a new white belt.
Yeah, bro.
Because that feeling, like before you got, maybe it was a millisecond, like before you said, stop, breathe, don't freak out. There was a moment where sheer panic, right?
100%, bro.
That is what new white belts feel for 6 minutes. The entire fucking roll. So the universe gifted you that moment so you could remember.
And I will still have moments of panic. Usually not really in the training. I'm trying to think the last time I've had like a real bad panic attack, I think it was with Joao, because it's like I'm not used to getting my ass kicked anymore.
Yeah.
There are tough men in this fucking gym, like some of the toughest fucking men I know. But we've been training, like Daniel's one of them. I've been training Daniel can beat me in a way, like if Daniel fucking submits me and catches me in a choke or something, that's Daniel, right? But Daniel can't fucking just squish me.
At will.
And like, I had Joao's big ass on top of me, and this was a year or two ago, and I started feeling that same type of like, fuck. I can't get him off me. I can't move. I'm not in a position to be submitted. Nothing's getting, my neck's fine. My arms are okay, but I'm fucking scared under here. And that's a fucking emotion that is healthy. And that's why I talk about it. And I don't feel like a pussy. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, I get scared sometimes when I roll. That's why I roll.
There's so many reasons this podcast is called The Endless Endeavor.
Yeah,
Doesn't go away.
Doesn't go away. And if you think being scared while you're training with one of your friends makes you a bitch, go roll with Joao and let me know how that feels.
Hell, go roll with half the blue belts in here.
That's
how they make me feel like every time I come in here.
And I honestly think it's healthy to, I mean, when I try and articulate those emotions in words, it's fight and flight kicking in, but you can't flee because you got a gorilla on top of you, and you also can't fight. So now what is that? They say
survive,
fight.
I guess.
Yeah, it's like,
and that is what I think white belt, like what that period of your journey is. It's survival,
and it's
learning how to survive.
And bro, being in that place where it's like, I'm alive right now because this guy chose not to kill me. It's kind of a weird place to arrive at. And again, like if you haven't been there, that sounds dramatic, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like there's people in this gym that fucking 2,000 years ago, it would pop your head right off your body and then they'd leave with your women. You know what I mean? Like and our brains still fucking feel that when even at a training speed.
It's an extreme motivator to make you want to level up, or at least to keep coming so that you can eventually level up so that you're that problem.
Yes.
Or that at least those people aren't that problem to you. Like I don't know. It's in our DNA, dude. Like we're supposed to get better. We're supposed to improve. And then we wonder why most of the population is obese or deals with depression. We're all sitting on our asses, working at keyboards, not interacting with real people.
Yeah.
Not feeling that feeling.
That, and like, it's funny too, because when I watch, like when George St. Pierre tapped to strikes, do you remember that fight?
No.
Matt Serra clipped him and fucking dropped him. And he fell to the ground, and Matt Serra got like back control and just started feeding him shots, and he tapped out, and the internet ate him alive. He's not a fucking warrior. And I was like, dude, everybody has quit in them except Diego Sanchez and Cain Velasquez. Like that fucking Mexican fucking warrior heart. I don't think those dudes have an off switch. But for the rest of humanity, you can be pushed to a point where you want to quit things. That's okay. Go find that place and visit that place. Get comfortable with that place. And then you can push that place back farther and farther and farther. It's like when I was in Ranger selection holding the logs over the head, and they're like, those logs are staying over your head until 2 people quit. And that doesn't, it can be 3 minutes, it can be 3 hours, it can be 3 days, but we're finding our quitters, right? And every person has their breaking point, but you want to move the goalpost as far away as you can from being broken. And you learn to do that on the mats. And if people think that they can fucking they inherently have that inside of them, and maybe someone does.
See red.
Maybe you do. And if you do, good on you. But for me, I need to visit that place to keep that at bay.
Or at least, like, if you think that's you, at least go test the theory. Go to a trial class.
Yeah.
That's all, like, just once.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, like, okay, yeah, you're the badass you say you are. Or have your ego fractured and dedicate yourself to getting better.
I've had people where it's like, I could see a high level of frustration after them trying class. And I've had the same conversation. Like when I tell this story, I could apply it to 10 people. And I'm like, bro, what's going on right now? And he's like, I didn't expect it to be anything like this. And it's like, if you came in here and had success against guys like me and Tyler and Daniel, what would be the point of coming in here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, anything you do in life where someone can impart knowledge on you, if you already have that knowledge, then you don't need to go attend their block of instruction. But men will inherently come in here thinking that they don't need that block of instruction. Yeah. It's like you said, they're coming in here to give it a test, I guess.
Sure.
You know?
Everything worth having is difficult.
Fuck yes, it is, bro.
Right? If it was so easy to get your black belt,
they'd call it karate.
Yeah.
And I'm kidding. Okay, I know.
No, then it would be cheap and people wouldn't come in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a reason we're all here working to get better. It's because it's fucking hard.
It's hard as fuck, dude.
And regardless of how good we think we get, we're constantly humbled and constantly challenged, and we hit plateaus. And it's like you said, jiu-jitsu mirrors life. We hit plateaus in our real life too. And this is it's a little microcosm of what real life is outside these mats. So it almost lets us practice for life. Like it's us saying, fuck, what am I going to do in this situation I've never been in before? I'm being choked in a new way. Fuck, what do I do? Okay, slow down, think through it. And then when something comes at you in real life, you know it's not quite as bad as getting choked out by one of your friends. Like my life isn't on the line in this moment. I know it's going to be not easy to get through this, but a hell of a lot more manageable. Like it's stress inoculation, right?
When Sean was on Rogan a couple weeks ago, did you listen to that episode?
Yeah.
He said something very similar. He's like, that's why I do jiu-jitsu, because it lets me know like the rest of my day is not going to be that hard.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. That's been great for me this year too. Like I started back in February and right around when I started a new job. And I think it's helped me lean into this job, like to really enjoy it. I love my job. I love the people I work with, and I want to say it's not hard. I work hard, but it's not getting choked out.
Yeah. It's
not getting my arm half mangled. Like life is a lot more manageable when you expose yourself to that stuff. I don't know. It gets rid of a lot of anxieties that you thought you had. I think a lot of it is just as humans, we need to be doing certain things that we're built to do. And when you sit on a couch, you're going to have problems. You're going to have inner problems. You're going to have health problems, mental problems, depression. As soon as you start like moving your body and getting close to other people, you can't get closer than jiu-jitsu. Like
bro, you can't.
It's impossible. I don't want to say you're drinking other people's sweat. Sometimes it happens accidentally and it sounds gross, and some people aren't going to try it out because I just said
it is kind of gross.
Sure, but you get past it.
You get past it. Unless you're Jennifer Anderson. That's why she quit.
I don't know that story.
Well, one of my blue belts had her mounted and a drip of sweat came off. She said she saw the bead of sweat forming in his chest hair, and then the next place it was in her mouth, and she goes, I'm done with this jiu-jitsu stuff. So now she'll put on a gi and help Craig wrangle kids. But I tell people too, like, you know, like we laugh about that, but do you want to learn about the discomforts of physical confrontations in a controlled environment? Because you don't want to learn those lessons in some dark alleyway, you know? And that's just a reality of life. And bro, again, to go down the apocalyptic rabbit hole, we don't know what lies ahead. And we think about like, oh, fucking fighting the government and conflict with fucking armed assailants and all this stuff. But in a society where there are no rules, there's going to be a lot of people that are just opportunistic predators. And that might mean grabbing you as you fucking walk by, you know? Having jiu-jitsu, another Joaoism. I've yet to meet the person that invested in jiu-jitsu and regrets it.
Yeah.
You know, I did jiu-jitsu for 2 years, man. I should have been fucking playing tennis. That was a big waste. There was a waste of 2 years. That person doesn't exist. So when you hear that, or find me that person that invested into getting their blue belt and now says, that time could have been better spent doing whatever. You show me that fucking person, I'll change my whole perspective on jiu-jitsu.
Totally. Doesn't exist.
Doesn't fucking exist. You can't make it to blue belt without some massive fucking life lessons and understanding about yourself as part of that path, you know?
Maybe that segues into an interesting question. Why do you think so many people stop at blue belt? Because I feel like when I think about getting my blue belt, I guess I'm not really thinking about belts. I just want to improve. I want to get better. I want to, maybe it's a measuring stick, you know, it's a progression, and we kind of need that. That's important. But when I think about like leveling up, let's say, that makes me pumped. Like, I feel like I'm going to be around more because there's more to learn. There's more to experience then, because you're more confident. You're figuring out your game. Like, why do so many people quit?
Your enthusiasm with jiu-jitsu is already black belt enthusiasm. Like, you're me 20 years ago. I already see it. Like, you're not going to come in one day and be like, hey, bro, go ahead. Can you go ahead and cancel my contract? Like, I'm just kind of over jiu-jitsu. Some people get over jiu-jitsu, right? Like, that's just the reality of it. Now, every time someone cancels a contract, it's always a story of X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu is no longer a priority for them.
Yeah. Say like right now, I have a 2-week-old baby, and I haven't trained in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to get back, probably early January. Even if it's a month off, I'm still coming back. Like, there's no question.
Yeah. I mean, you saw the guys doing their 2 p.m. class out there during our piss break.
Now my wheels are turning.
And
like,
you're
okay, if my toddler's napping, then I
could make it in here, right? I think there's a percentage of people that want to experience jiu-jitsu for what it is and be part of it and learn. And then they reach a point where it's like, okay, I checked that block. Now, to go back to what I said, none of those people are going to say they regretted it, because it still added a lot of value to their life. But there's a certain percentage of people that I think they call it like blue beltitis or whatever. It's like, man, I've been doing this for a year or 2 or 3 and fuck. All right, that's it for jiu-jitsu. And I can't really speak to why that would happen, because to me, bro, you're just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I also understand that, like, just because it's my passion doesn't mean it needs to be every last person's passion on planet Earth. What I will say is, if I tie a purple belt on you, I expect to tie a black belt on you. Those two things are, what a purple belt means is you're a lifer now.
Yeah.
You know?
Barring them moving away or whatever.
Yeah, of course, you know? But, like, you don't get a purple belt unless you've bought off on everything that jiu-jitsu is.
The hooks are in deep.
The hooks are in deep, man. And, but yeah, you know, and then the other thing is, I will give you a blue belt if you've invested 2 years of your life with me and you've been a good person and a good teammate and you've shown an element of consistency. To tell you the truth, I don't really care how good your jiu-jitsu is. And I know that sounds kind of,
well, everybody's different.
Everybody's different, right? I can't have a set standard, because Skyler getting his blue belt as a fucking lifelong wrestler, and the next person who, like, maybe he's
55-year-old, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. I was going to say Sean Baker, but he's also
that's an outlier.
He's older, but he's an outlier. He's still a fucking monster, you know? But again, like, he'll be getting his blue belt next summer because he's been part of the team for 3 years. And it's like, if you give the consistency to something, the skill's already there.
Yeah.
I'm actually, the belt represents consistency. And bro, you feel our blue belts.
Mm-hmm.
I have people come all the time and be like, what the fuck is going on with your
What's
blue
in the
belts?
water here?
Yeah, you know? So, I mean, I don't need to worry about if our blue belts are up to par or not. But I feel like I don't have to have you. I want you to have an understanding of jiu-jitsu, obviously. You're not getting a blue belt if I fucking pass your guard and you're like, what do I do now? And some places do that. And it's like, dude, what is going on? We still have a duty to preserve jiu-jitsu. But my point is, purple belt's a different thing. You better be a motherfucking savage.
Yeah.
Like, that is where now I am holding. I don't care. I don't care if you're consistent. I don't care if you show up. If you don't fucking, if everything isn't making sense to you and you're not fucking dialed the fuck in, you're not getting a purple belt.
I also feels like where things get pretty serious. Like if someone has a Greg Anderson, dude. Like if someone has a Greg Anderson purple belt and they go to another gym, like there's an element there.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm not giving you your purple belt unless you're truly like very truly ready and dedicated to this almost as a lifestyle.
I want to talk to you about next summer's purple belts, but that's secret.
Okay.
That can't go out over the podcast. But no, that's the truth. And I also think like next summer's promotions might hurt some people's feelings because, you know, you show up with a group of guys and you're all white belts together, then you're blue belts together. You're not all purple belts together.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road. The people that are gonna pull ahead are the people that are really dedicated, you know? And the other side of it is, dude, if you're just a hobbyist, hey, you know what? Jiu-jitsu's cool and it's fun for me and I can give it 1 day a week and that's great.
Is that your definition for hobbyist?
I don't know. Yeah.
Because I would consider, I guess I'll perpetually, I'm going to be a hobbyist.
Are you a 1 day a week guy?
No, I'm like a 3 day a week guy.
Okay, then you're not a hobbyist, dude.
Okay, but I'm also not like actively seeking out competitions.
No, bro. You don't never. I give you a black belt with 0 competitions.
Okay, so
I'll tell you that right now.
I think that's probably where we digress in definition. Is that a hobbyist maybe in my mind was someone who is not doing it to compete. They're doing it for the, I guess, advancement of their own skills for its own sake, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As far as like how much time you need to give jiu-jitsu, I am of the mindset you need to give 3 days a week. Like if you want to progress and you want to be a purple, brown, or black belt, that's a 3 day a week thing.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to give it 3 days a week, then maybe the verbiage is different, right? What's below a hobbyist in your world?
I don't know, dude. I don't think there is anything. Filthy casual.
Filthy casual. If you're a filthy casual, but you're someone that like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not that interested in it, but I could give it 1 day a week. You have to be content that like, that's probably a lifelong blue belt type journey.
I'm not sure that person exists. I think that's a season of life thing. Like that's a maintenance.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1 or 2 days a week as maintenance just so I don't lose it because like for my case right now, I got a newborn and a toddler, 2 under 2. I'm not making it in 3 days a week with a 2 week old.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to put it. 1 day a week is a maintenance phase.
Right.
It is maintenance.
But it's a phase.
But it's even barely maintenance because it's like you will be digressing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm already feeling it, dude. 2 weeks in without rolling, without training. Ugh. You're the perfect person to talk to right now. You're recovering from fucking
just
surgery.
Fucking broke dicks sitting here fucking, or I'm a broke dick. You're a fucking new parent, which is a similar feeling.
Feels broken. 2 hours of sleep a night. Yeah.
You see, Andy Stump just had emergency surgery.
I did see that.
He had some kind of fucking blockage or something,
or in his intestine.
And I'm gonna text him a picture of my abdomen and be like, "We're both just broke dicks full of holes, dude."
Yep, full of belly holes. What's the recovery look like for you? Like how long until
8
you're
weeks.
back? Till you're.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start instructing at 4 weeks. I feel fine right now. Like, I think I could go fight somebody and win. Like, and maybe I'm fucking delusional, but like, I feel fine right now. There's no more pain. But the doctor warned me of this. And he said, bro, you're going to feel good. And then if you jump back into normal life, you're going to rip the repair off of your abdominal wall, we're going to have to go back in, and it's literally resetting the clock to day one. And I'm terrified of that because the first couple of days were hell, dude. And so like, especially like coming out of anesthesia for me, that was the worst part. The hangover I had from anesthesia, I was nauseous, but puking was so painful because of my abdominal was all cut up, right? And like, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. But that was only 1 or 2 days. But after that, it's like I had about a week of pain, and now I'm good to go. But I understand that if I fuck this up, I go back to there. So that's what's keeping me minding my P's and Q's, you know?
Got a little more wisdom now.
And then like at 8 weeks, he said, you're good to go, full fucking bore. So, but I'm still going to listen to my body.
Yeah.
On 8 weeks, I'm not going to slap and bump with Daniel and be like, fight to the death. Sure. Let's go, you know?
I'm that kind of person that like, I had fractured my tibia while like during officer training. And I ended up refracturing it 6 times because I never waited long enough. I never stayed off of it. I was obsessed with exercise. And it was part of my, like what made me. Like I had to work out. I had to do it.
Bro.
And I kept injuring it. I kept and now to this day, it's like if I go shin to shin, it was like my second week here, I went shin to shin with Anthony.
Oh, really?
And for like 2 weeks, I was limping around. Like my whole leg was purple. I was just like, fuck, do I need to not do jiu-jitsu anymore? I was only 2 weeks in and I thought this was catastrophic, but eventually it heals up. But I'm terrible at giving my body enough time to heal.
Well, bro, like exercise and physicality is kind of everything for me. Yeah. If I don't have my health, I'm not me. If I don't have the ability to do the things that I do on a daily basis, like life is over.
You think that's where the anger came from?
Maybe.
Last night?
Yeah,
like,
it very well could be, man. Like my whole world is physicality. Everything that I do, everything I teach. And as soon as you take that away, bro, I'm not good.
Yeah, dude.
I've said a lot of times, like people say jiu-jitsu saved my life. I said jiu-jitsu ruined my life. Because as soon as I don't have it,
yep,
I fucking spiral, bro.
I'm there already, dude. I'm only 10 months in, and if I go 2 weeks, like right now, big life event, I haven't rolled in 2 weeks. It's so weird because there's so much joy and elation in this newborn phase. Everything's perfect in life right now. Like,
bro, are you
I
just
love my
saying
job.
that?
I love my wife. I love my girls.
Do you have to just say that because you're on a podcast?
No, I struggle with this. I legitimately there's so much fucking love in my life. But then there's this like,
you need some war.
I've been trying to figure it out the last 2 weeks. I'm like, what is this little seed that's down in there somewhere that's just itching at me? Oh, it's because I haven't worked out in 2 weeks. I haven't rolled in 2 weeks. I've been eating sugar because it's the holidays.
It's because we're built for war.
I forget so fucking fast though.
You know?
Like you're so quick to forget.
That's what our body wants to do.
Yeah.
You know, when I ate that 10 grams of mushrooms with Tyler, we were talking about he was talking about these things of compassion and forgiveness. And I was like, bro, I get all that. But me, I'm built for fucking war, and so are you. And like, you look at Stanaway, he's built for fucking war. And sometimes you just have to fucking embrace that, you know, and understand that that's part of who the fuck we are. And it's good, right?
It's part of who we are. It's not the whole thing.
But
right?
bro, like when my daughters were born, cool baby is born. You
Really?
know what I mean? I didn't have this like emotional experience where it's like, oh my God, the moment my kid came into the world, I was different, you know? It's like, I used to tell people, they're like a pet, dude. Like, I'm carrying this thing around. I have to fucking feed this thing.
When they're in the potato stage.
I have to wipe its ass.
Yeah.
Like, I have no connection to this thing. And I think that that's a man phase. I watched my buddy Seth go through it too. And he's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what? Why am I supposed to love this thing? All it does is annoy me. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds harsh, but there's lots of men out there. You can't talk about this because it means you're an asshole, right?
Sure, yeah. And everybody's different too.
I had to fall in love with my kids as they became people. And by the time I had my third one, like, okay, I know how this works. You know what I mean? And the baby phase was cool then. But for the first two, like, all right, you're born. I'm going to work. Like, that's what I did. I went to work the next day as a police officer.
Yeah.
And like, Jenny's like, you're going to work? Like, yeah, what am I going to do? Sit here with you with this fucking thing? I don't have tits. Like, and I was also young and fucking not very emotional.
Yeah. How old were you when you started having kids?
28.
Yeah. So
not super young, but younger.
Still in your 20s. I mean? And
yeah.
I think I would have had the same reaction if I had kids in my 20s.
And also, kids pulled me from war too.
Right. Which is what you wanted to be doing.
I found out that we were starting a family when I was in Iraq.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like...
And you were basically told, like, you need to find a new line of work because this isn't going to work.
And then the next thing I know, I'm a police officer because that's what you do.
Yeah.
You go from war to being a police officer because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And it was a weird transition, man.
Don't you fucking love your life now, though?
Oh, it's the best, bro.
Yeah. And you're not at war.
I'm at war in my fucking brain, bro.
Whatever you got to do, I guess. But no, dude, I didn't have any of that when I went. Maybe it's because I had kids in my 30s. We waited. As soon as I had a daughter, I was like, fuck, I wish I would have started earlier. Like, I want more of these.
Yeah.
I guess I've always wanted to be a dad without really knowing it. Like, I dated a lot of women before I met Michelle. And my longest relationship was like 4 months.
Okay.
I was just like a serial dater, whatever. I'm very afraid of commitment. And then I met Michelle and she was just my fucking person.
And we knew it, huh?
Right away. Yeah.
That's fucking cool, man.
And I thought that was fake bullshit. Like, oh yeah, you knew right away.
Oh,
huh?
it's your soulmate.
Oh,
some
like,
gay shit. Yeah. No, bro.
No,
there are people that when you meet them, you know you're supposed to meet them. And both men and women, right? Like,
yep.
And I don't know if it's
almost like you recognize.
We can speculate what the fuck that is, if it's cosmic or whatever. But it's undeniable.
It's souls recognizing each other.
Yeah, it's undeniable, dude.
It goes deeper than the meat suit.
Yeah.
With Michelle, it's that, fuck, man. I used to think I was hopeless when it came to like finding happiness, I guess, in terms of a relationship. I was going to be that uncle, because I've got 4 brothers, who is always with either a different woman or alone at the family reunions.
Yeah.
Like, even in my old age, I was pretty much mentally there, like ready to just be alone.
How old were you when you got married?
29, 30.
Okay, it's not terribly old though.
It was 2019. Yeah. So not crazy old, sure, but I was also a very different person than I was when I was 18, then I was 24, then I was fucking 26.
Yeah.
It's almost like once I met Michelle, that's when my life kind of started. Like, I was done fucking around. I was done being like all of the stuff I did before that, before I met my person that I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
Were you in the Marine Corps still? Or you just got out?
I was. No, I was in. Okay. Yeah. We met on Tinder.
Oh, shit.
And I was her first match.
Soulmates on Tinder.
Dude, she had been in a long-ass relationship before that. I was her first match on Tinder. So she probably thought Tinder was this magical, perfect man-generating machine. And I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for like 5 years on Tinder before I met her. And with Hawaii, though, I was stationed in Hawaii. She lived there for like 10 years.
Okay.
So that's where we met. But in Hawaii, it's really cool with the dating apps because it's like you'll swipe through everyone.
And then starting over again.
And then the next week, it's a new round of tourists. And it's like, oh, fresh stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I was like, I've never seen this girl before, but she lives here? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway. But yeah, dude, when my girls came out, it was like...
instantly in love, huh?
Life was different.
Yeah.
Life had changed.
And dude, I've heard that a lot from people. To the point where I wondered if I was broken or like... Because, bro, like, when I went through kind of like the PTS issues and suicidal ideations and like, I went down some pretty dark rabbit holes of depression. I already had kids at that point. And you want to know what's fucked up? And one day they'll probably listen to this and be like, what the fuck, Dad? They weren't really what, like, I had convinced myself, I blow my brains out, my daughters will grow up better. Because I'm a bad influence on them. I'm a shitty person to have around them. they weren't really a factor. And I think that, I mean, think about that, dude. What a fucking dark realization to try and come to. Or, I mean, what it is, it's you're telling yourself a lie, right?
Yeah.
But
I think it's a pretty common one.
It's a common one,
that
dude.
Get in that position, like they convince themselves the world would be better without them there.
And so, like, I went through all of those like post-war emotions as a father, whereas like I feel like when you started your family, you'd already kind of found yourself feeling pretty good about who you are, you know?
I was on the path at least.
Okay.
Yeah. I had started to do the work that I had been putting off, like the inner work, I guess. And now, dude, even before the second child came, it's like I've learned lessons this year that were absolutely essential before this kid came around. Like, oh fuck, dude. The other day, I guess it was about a month ago. When you talk about getting crazy pissed off and things just that, like, that's me with my dogs.
With your dogs?
I have 2 dogs. They're big dogs. They're very freaking loud. They're protector breeds. Like there's an old English sheepdog and a doodle Newfoundland. Like they're barkers. They bark at every fucking thing, and it destroys my peace. The bubble that I built in my home is just shattered every time they go off. And
bro, I already know.
And I have very high standards for my, like I train them, and they know the rules. And they choose to disobey me, and that fucking sets me off. So it was a real trigger for me. So one of my dogs, Freya, she's sweet, but she's a lot. She's very needy. She's a Velcro dog. She's always nuzzling her like nose into you. She wants love.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where everything she was doing was pissing me off. Like everything about her existence. I was regularly thinking like, my life was so much better before you were here. Like that's the kind of energy I was sending this dog, and then wondering why I was getting pissed off, why she was acting certain ways. I took 1.5 grams, put on this like mushroom playlist, sat on the couch, and right as they kicked in, like she jumped up on the couch and put her head in my lap. And Michelle had gone upstairs to put our kid down. She was still pregnant at the time. I had a full-on like emotional heart-to-heart with my dog.
Whoa.
This was like a month ago, where I, for the first time, fully understood her, and I fully understood that I was taking out a lot of emotion, a lot of pent-up frustration and anger and shit from my childhood. I was taking it out on her. It was just like a circle coming back around on her, and she was just trying to be a fucking dog, and she just wanted attention. And I broke down fucking crying, dude. Like I was on the couch by myself. I haven't cried in forever.
Yeah.
And I just was connecting with this animal who I had been pretty much abusing over the last few years, the 2 years of her life. And all she had given me was love. And she just wanted more of it.
And that feels fucking dark, huh?
And I basically asked her for forgiveness, and instantly it was there. Like I just felt it from her. Like, yeah, I've been waiting for you to get there. And since that day, every single dude, she doesn't trigger me. Like all this, it was a single moment in time. All I needed was one psilocybin experience with her, and this one trigger that was ruining a lot of days for me is just fucking gone. And
That's
now I can,
nuts,
and now I
dude.
can enjoy having a dog. Like,
yeah, how's that even possible?
I don't know, man.
Right? But you hear stories like that all the time from plant medicine journeys.
Yeah.
You know? I was like,
dude,
yeah, you got to go inside and figure some shit out, dude.
We could talk for 10 hours about all of the experiences I've had in the last 6 months and how it's completely put my life on the proper path, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been super powerful. It's been, and having people like Tyler there to kind of help along the way, and people like my wife that will step up. And
does she partake in this as well, or just support?
She hasn't, just because she's been pregnant.
Yeah.
For the last 9 months, which is about the time I've been like, I knew I had a lot of work I needed to do before this baby got here. Like there was still some shit because things changed from that first baby to having 2.
Of course.
Because it's not like, oh, you can tag team one baby, easy day.
Yeah.
When there's 2 of them, fuck, it gets...
2 is where it starts to change, and then anything past 2, it's kind of like a fire team.
Same. Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
You know, like we got to plan for this, or we got to have babysitters or whatever.
Yeah.
So
if I hadn't have done the work though, like I wouldn't have been ready for this period. Like, yeah, I'm tired. We're sleeping a couple hours a night, but I fucking love it, dude. I love every minute I'm with my girls, and I'm not just saying that because I have to. Like,
happy wife, happy life, or whatever.
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It's always felt effortless because I know she's my person, and she'll do anything for me, and I'll do anything for her. And I don't know. This is a whole nother rabbit hole, but psilocybin specifically has helped me break through a lot of barriers I didn't really know that I had that were affecting other parts of my life in other ways that I didn't know they were like all these problems, quote unquote problems I thought I had weren't what I thought they were.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you have neck pain, but it's really coming from this nerve or a fucking muscle way down in your back.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that was the problem, but as soon as you start massaging that thing, you're like, oh my God, that was it. That's kind of how it feels like every time I do plant medicine and I unlock something.
Fuck, dude.
It's crazy.
As soon as we stop recording, we got more to talk about.
Yeah.
But we're already at 3.5 hours, or 2.5 hours. So we got to wrap it up. Direct people to your podcast.
It's brand new. It's called The White Belt Mafia on all major podcast platforms.
And you already have it. It's already out, right?
So I did a pilot episode. I've got a couple more recorded. So by the time you release this, probably next month, I should have a few episodes available.
Cool.
But yeah, it's really just for that person who is either new to jiu-jitsu or thinking about giving it a shot.
Okay.
And the goal is to have these kinds of conversations where I can pull people back into their early white belt days, learn some lessons, figure out things to focus on so that deer in the headlights look goes away a little faster.
Yeah.
And you can get on this journey that we just spent the last hour talking about, this awesome, incredible journey with so many lessons to learn.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. And I know I'm going to be doing your podcast here before too long.
Hell yeah.
And it should be fun to continue working together. And I'll try and fucking get as many eyes on it as I can because I think it's important for people to fucking understand all the stuff of the beginning of your journey and all the emotions and all the anxiety and all the issues. Everybody experiences that.
It's all normal.
It's all normal.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have someone actually like, I'm going to fucking put a spotlight on this and normalize it even further, you know? So.
And I deeply appreciate you kind of helping me out there.
Of course, brother. Of course.